Let's get it, 580 Sports Talk on a Friday. Yes, we made it to the end of the week. We have almost made it to the end of a month. We have got 3 hours of 580 Sports Talk coming your way to take you into the weekend here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on Facebook at WIBW News. However you're consuming the show, we appreciate you being along for the ride here on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero, Brendan Wrzinski starting things off with you. Spencer Dupuis will be in a bit. My shirt is not this color. If you are watching on the YouTube stream, I don't know what it is about the lighting in the studio today, but it's got me looking like I'm wearing like a fluorescent green shirt. It's just a regular green, man. I don't know what's going on with the camera.
The camera's making it look like the color of ballpark hot dog relish.
Like the color of like a 90s Sprite can. Almost like a nuclear green, I would describe it.
Thirst.
Anyhow, yeah.
Wasn't that something Kenny Mayne would yell during SportsCenter highlights? I think it was.
He yelled a lot of things during his highlights. But yeah, the old obey your thirst slogan.
That was a great slogan.
Yeah, very good slogan. They used it for a long time. Anyway, if you want to know what we're talking about, punch up the video. Get to our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and you can see how much of the green of my shirt is being washed out to make me look like it is a nuclear green. Tyler in the comment says, it's so green. It is. I don't know if it's the contrast with my hat, which is also green, but I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's lit up. The more people, by the way, who subscribe on the YouTube channel, the closer we get to literal hand-to-hand combat between Dan and I.
If you subscribe to the YouTube channel today, I will wear a greener shirt. I will.
Do you have greener options?
I don't. This is my green shirt. Like this is if it's St. Patrick's Day and I know somebody's out and about who's real serious about that pinching people life, this is what I wear. So it is yeah. Anyway, check us out on the YouTube today. The name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk, and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We got a fun show for you today. These next 3 hours of sports talk. We'll have a little overtime for you as well up until 6:30. That's when we hand things off to the Royals Baseball Network. Royals and Tigers open up a 3-game series at Kauffman Stadium as the boys in blue try to catch the AL Central Division leaders. Seth Lugo makes his return from the injured list to start tonight against Casey Mize of the Tigers. 7:10 first pitch tonight, so we'll take you up with some overtime until 6:30 and hand things off to pregame coverage.
Tyler on YouTube says you're wearing Color Rush.
Yes, it's the Color Rush. Like I like.
Oh man, that's funny.
I like to coordinate, right? Like I'm gonna wear a green shirt. I'm gonna wear a green hat, and I got like a couple of green hats. So I got one green shirt. I wear this green shirt. It's the Denver White Elephants. This is an old Ebbets Field flannel shirt. Denver White Elephants were a Negro League team, and I like the shirt. It's a very normal color of green. It is not like this shock green, like Seattle Seahawk Thursday night football green.
Oh man, Color Rush. That got me, man. That's funny.
Yeah, really,
I missed the Color Rush. So many of them were so bad. What was it? The year was it?
There was one year, I think it was like the
Jets Bills.
Jets Bills.
Yep.
Yes. And if you were colorblind.
Yeah, green, red, colorblind folks couldn't tell who was who.
You couldn't see it, just all looked gray. You had hundreds of people watching that game like cats.
Oh man, that's funny.
So anyhow, again, if you want to get in on that particular gag, turn on the YouTube today. 580 Sports Talk is the YouTube channel. You can watch it on Facebook as well. WIBW News. We're going to talk some baseball on the show today. The Tigers threatening to run away early with the American League Central. Best record in the American League. How have they done this in such a short amount of time? And what can the Royals take from what the Tigers have done? What's the secret to this success that the Motor City Kitties have had here really in the last 100 games and change? Because right up until about mid-August of last year, early August, they remained an afterthought. And then they got stupid hot, won a wild card series, and here they are now with the best record in the American League. How is this happening? Why is it happening? Is there anything the Royals ought to steal from what the Tigers have successfully done? We'll also give you your daily Jack Caglione update. Everyone is writing about Jack Caglione all the time. Got tidbits from Ken Rosenthal in The Athletic. Dan Zimborski in Fangraphs wrote a whole article about Jack Caglione today, arguing the case to call him up immediately. We have been making the slow the roll case. Dan Zimborski, who, if I recall correctly, was kind of persona non grata in Royals territory back about a decade ago when he kept insisting the Royals weren't actually good. And then, of course, they went on to win back-to-back pennants and then said the Royals should immediately tear down their roster. And in retrospect, maybe that would have been the right thing to do, but it would have been very fun to trade away the nucleus of a playoff team or champion team half a season later. I'm glad the Royals didn't do that. They shouldn't have listened to Dan, but that Dan, they should maybe
clip it.
Don't listen to Dan.
Save the audio.
Anyhow, Dan Zimborski, though, arguing in favor of get Cags to the show now. And I think he makes a compelling argument, even if I still disagree. So we'll get to that a little bit later on. We're going to talk some football today. The latest from Chiefs OTAs, have some tidbits from Adam Teicher from Chiefs camp, a couple of Chiefs thoughts, and we'll talk Chiefs with our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick, who joins us at the bottom of this 3 o'clock hour, as he does every Friday here on 580 Sports Talk. Get Matt's impressions from the media available portions of OTAs, what he heard from Mahomes and Reed and other players who spoke with the media yesterday. Matt Derrick joining us at the bottom of this hour. Also going to talk some Big 12 football as well. It was probably seeing the College Football 26 video game trailer that started to plant that seed in the back of my head to get excited about college football, or all the little things that happen that lead up to the college football season that get you excited for college football. Like seeing the Phil Steele magazine at the Barnes & Noble and the college football video game coming out. Or maybe it's something different for you, but those were the two things for me that always scratched that itch and got me excited. Oh, man, college football's coming. So college football's coming. Not imminently, not tomorrow, but it's coming. And I had a couple of questions about K-State and KU as we begin this lull between the end of spring practice, the summer session, and eventually the start of summer workouts into fall camp and the late August kickoff for both the Wildcats and the Jayhawks. Plus, everything else you've come to know and love from a Friday edition of the show. We got our 580 Sports Talk headlines, a playoff roundup. We are going to crown a champion for May on What Is Wrong With You. We are down to 2 stories from the month of May, and one of them will be the monthly champion. And that monthly champion will join our other monthly champions, our fascist falconer, the double D drunk driver, the meth cannon, and all the rest, in our Tournament of Failed Champions at the end of December. So we're going to contest our May championship on What Is Wrong With You. We'll have On Second Thought, Change My Mind, and more. Plus, we want to hear from you on the show. Text line is open, 785-272-9429. That's 785-272-9429. You can also interact with us in the chat on YouTube, as many of you already have. If you are watching the show on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, hop on in and interact not just with your hosts, though we're happy to interact with you in the chat. Interact with your fellow listeners as well. A good afternoon to Mark H. and Tyler. Paul's in. Vance is in. And we appreciate those who are already in and those who will join us as we go along on this Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk.
A lot of people hated the Seahawks color rush uniforms, the neon electric green.
I don't like them. I'm a fan of the team. I don't like them.
I don't think they're that bad. The worst color rush uniforms by far were the honey Dijon yellow Jaguars color rush uniforms.
Okay, yeah, that was pretty bad.
Those were horrendous.
Bright yellow on yellow Rams were also bad.
Yeah, those were tough. Those were tough. Blake Bortles himself, while quarterbacking the Jaguars, called their uniforms, quote, ugly as hell. So there you go.
Not a great quarterback, but a truth teller.
You can buy a Blake Bortles Color Rush Dijon yellow jersey for $54.
On what, like eBay?
A website I've never heard of.
Man,
I cannot imagine this is based in the U.S.
Donate that money to charity, man. If you're thinking about buying,
give it to me.
Yeah, that's charity, right? We could use it.
Yeah,
we got kids, man. We could use it.
Oh yeah,
we got infants. We got children under the age of 1. Anything is charity for us. So anyway, let's talk some baseball, shall we? It's a big series this weekend at Kauffman Stadium, and the Royals go into it with some good injury news because Seth Lugo is back. And who'd he replace on the 26-man roster? Lucas Erceg. It's not all good news. Lucas Erceg is headed to the injured list. A low back strain. His placement on the 15-day IL is retroactive to May 27th. Obviously, this is crushing for the Royals bullpen for the short term because Erceg has been their best guy, a 1.96 earned run average over his 23 innings. He frequently picks up the 8th inning ahead of closer Carlos Estevez, has been known to get more than 3 outs in an outing, only 3 walks to 18 strikeouts in his 23 innings. Lucas Erceg is really, really good. And now the picture behind Estevez in the late innings for the Royals on the plus side gets real murky. I don't know where Q goes from here. Sometimes you just move the next guy up. Well, I don't know who the next guy is right now. Is it the combination of John Schreiber and Angel Zerpa, and you try to ham and egg it through righty-lefty matchups into the 9th inning, starting in the 7th, and just kind of ham and egg it from there with those guys? Do you give Daniel Lynch that late inning look? I've been against that because, again, just doesn't have the strikeout numbers that you really are looking for from a late inning reliever. Steven Cruz has the arm for it, but has had a couple of bumpy outings recently after a really great start to the season. Taylor Clark's got a .82 ERA, but that's a super small sample size. I don't know what the immediate answer is for Cotrero. Like, if they go into the 8th tonight with a 1-run lead, I don't know. Q might be hashing that out right now. He might be trying to figure out right now in his head, like, all right, what do I do? Do they do more of Estevez for 4 outs, which they did on Wednesday when,
probably,
again, like the description, you ham and egg it with Schreiber and Zerpa against righties and lefties, and then when it came down to it, you got a pinch hitter, a lefty against Schreiber with the tying run on, they brought in Estevez. He used 1 pitch to get out of the 8th, and he handled his business in the 9th. Do you see more of that, or do you not want to overdrive your 32-year-old closer in May and June like that? This is a big deal. And who steps forward? The good news, the potential, light at the end of the tunnel here is that it could be an opportunity for someone like Cruz or Clark to step forward and say, no, this role is mine. I can handle this. I'm throwing the ball well. I'm not walking a bunch of guys. I can miss a bat here and there. I'm keeping the ball in the ballpark, and I'm going to be the guy you can lean on in that 8th inning so that you can more aptly mix and match those middle innings with arms like Zerpa and Schreiber or Evan Sisk if he gets called back up. Andrew Hoffman's with the big club right now. We haven't seen him yet, but Sisk was the guy that they didn't send down because of performance. I imagine they'd like to get him back if they can. They sent him down because they didn't have enough arms that hadn't been used. They needed a fresh arm.
Right.
And that was why that transaction got made. We could see Sisk sooner rather than later. It's a big deal. And I don't know. There's not an obvious answer here. There's not, like, if Estevez goes down, you move Erceg to the 9th. You know who the like-for-like replacement is in that role. I don't know who's going to pitch the 8th. How would you handle it?
I think I would go with Steven Cruz. I think if I had to pick one guy who I wanted to put in that spot,
he's got the arm.
I'd go with Cruz.
Like the pro arm, Cruz would be the guy because he's throwing 100 and his stuff moves.
Yeah, and I would certainly listen to an argument for Taylor Clark. We actually have a texter from the 785, and we'd love to hear from you, 785-272-9429. But one texter who says they would go with Taylor Clark, give him the chance. I would be okay with that. I don't think there are many realistic options at this point I wouldn't be okay with. Like, okay, if Angel Zerpa is suddenly the setup man, what are we doing here? I don't think that's all that reasonable, rational, plausible, whatever word you want to use. So of the potential options, I would lean Cruz. I would probably go with a bet on the high upside of the arm at this point. The underlying numbers for him are pretty good in terms of, the expected on base, stuff like that. He's gotten some help from the defense in his 20 appearances, just under 19 innings so far this year. His ERA is considerably better than his fielding independent numbers. But again, that live arm, I think you take a bet on that. And you don't want to overextend Estevez. I think you're right about that, Dan. But at the same time, I think you can feel it out a little bit and see, okay, are we able to do 4 outs more often? Not every other day by any means, but is that a possible option in a one-run game, for example. You can feel that out here the next couple of days, hopefully. I would just bet on the upside. I would bet on this is a football term, but I'd bet on the arm talent here. And I think Cruz has as much of that as anybody who's healthy and active right now. I think Urseg's got a lot of that in his game, but I think Cruz, that the livest arm that the Royals have, if that's a usable adjective there, that's how I would describe him. So I would make that bet. Now, the risk, of course, is that blows up in your face because those guys run the risk of not having great control. And when you throw the ball really hard, as we've said many, many times, the ball gets hit really hard going the other way. So those are the concerns, but I would take the upside bet and go with Cruz in that spot.
The positive for Cruz is that he hasn't been particularly prone to the free pass, walking fewer than 3 guys per 9, and he's been tough to square up, which you would imagine watching the ball come out of his hand. He's only allowed 11 hits in 18 2/3 innings, and only one of those has been a home run. Taylor Clark's only allowed 4 hits in his 11 innings, and he's only walked 1 guy in 11 innings. And add to the fact that Clark has much more big league experience than Steven Cruz. Steven Cruz has pitched in 35 career games. Taylor Clark is at 191 big league games in his career. He's 32. Cruz is 26. There has been a tendency for Quatrero to lean on veterans, to prefer a veteran, a more knowledgeable hand. So my guess is tonight, if you've already seen Schreiber and Zerpa at some point, the 8th inning arrives and the Royals have a 4-3 lead or a 3-2 lead. That's more likely given the state of the Royals offense. I think you would see Clark. I think he'd get the first look. But both guys have pitched well, but it's a different ball of wax when you're the setup guy now. And it's also a challenge being thrust into that role against a Tiger team that can do so much damage from both sides of the plate. So you're not guaranteed to get a platoon advantage or anything that's going to make this a real comfortable glide path for you into the temporary setup role. Speaking of the Tigers, as I mentioned, they come in first place in the American League Central. Detroit 37-20 overall. That's 2 games better than New York in the win column for top record in the American League, and 1 better than Philadelphia for the top record in all of baseball. They have played more winning baseball in the last 100 games than any team in Major League Baseball. That's last 100 regular season games, including their red-hot run to close last season. They have a 6-game divisional lead over Cleveland and Minnesota and a 7-game lead over Kansas City, sitting in 4th place entering tonight. And if you had been wondering, well, how is this happening? How are the Tigers doing this all of a sudden? Cody Stavenhagen is their beat writer for The Athletic, and he had a feature today, full long read feature about the Tigers and why they're good. And it was an interesting read. There's some good quotes from A.J. Hinch and some of the players on the team. But there were 4 things I took away from the article, the reasons that the Tigers are good. Number 1, I know they have a great manager. I think you would find some differences of opinion on whether Matt Quatrero is a good manager. I lean more towards he's additive than not. Most managers sit really close to the line of taking something off the table or adding something to the table. I think Q's one of those managers that's pretty close to the line. I don't think he's a Bruce Bochy, Terry Francona. I don't think he's one of those guys. He's also only in his 3rd year as a manager. Terry Francona in year 3 wasn't necessarily that kind of a manager. So this is not a knock on Matt Quatrero, but I do think you would find a difference of opinion if you asked 10 Royals fans, is Matt Quatrero a good manager? You might find some people who say no. We know some people who aren't big fans of Matt Quatrero. Hi, Trenton, if you're listening. But I know A.J. Hinch is damn good. Like, there's no questioning that A.J. Hinch has absolutely been additive as the Tigers manager. So that goes a long way. You have one of the best managers in the game in your dugout. Second thing, Tigers run the bases like crazy. They go 1st to 3rd on every single. It's unbelievable. Every time there's a runner on 1st and base hit, that runner is on 3rd base. They are a really good fundamental team. They run the bases exceptionally well. That happens to stand in stark contrast to what we've seen from the Royals this year, who run into outs so often that the stupid base running play of the night ought to be a sponsored segment on the Royals Baseball Network. Like somebody should buy it. They'd get their money's worth because it feels like every night they're getting caught stealing, or they're getting picked off, or they're running into and out on the bases. Third thing I took away from the article about the Tigers from Cody Stavenhagen of The Athletic. The Tigers are versatile. They got a bunch of guys on their team that can play a bunch of different positions. They've got lefties. They've got righties. That gives them late game flexibility to pinch hit. Only the Mariners have pinch hit more often in games than the Tigers have this year. It gives them the chance to fire some big bullets, some big swingers off the bench late in games. If you start a left-handed pitcher, which the Royals are going to do on Sunday against Chris Bubich, well, good news is, great, Kerry Carpenter doesn't start. Bad news is, that dude's waiting for your right-hander in the late innings. That dude will face John Schreiber, potentially, in the 8th inning of a one-run game, or Taylor Clark in the 8th inning of a one-run game on Sunday. And that's not particularly appealing because Kerry Carpenter hits the ball a long way. So they're able to get those platoon advantages, which is not something the Royals can claim. They're pretty right-handed heavy, and they don't have a ton of versatility on their roster. Like, they have guys who can play all over the outfield, but they don't have, like, all of a sudden Javi Baez is a viable, not just a viable center fielder, an excellent center fielder now. Zach McKinstry plays like 6 different positions. Like, there's a lot of plug and play, mix and match. A team that was notably really good at this, the 2016 Cubs, because they had like Ben Zobrist and Chris Bryant, and they had guys that can move all over the diamond. The Tigers similarly have guys that they can move all over the diamond. And here's the fourth thing I took away from the article. The fourth thing that has made the Tigers good. They got a lot of talent, like big, good ball players. And where do those good ball players come from? The first round of the draft. 3 of their everyday players were top 10 picks in the Major League Baseball entry draft. Baez by the Cubs, Spencer Torkelson, number 1 overall pick by the Tigers. Riley Green was the 5th overall pick. 3 of their starting pitchers were first rounders. 2 of them were top 3 overall picks. Casey Mize went number 1. Jackson Jobe went number 3. The Tigers had 4 straight years with a top 5 pick. 2018 to 2021. They picked in the top 5 of the draft each year. They came away from those picks with Casey Mize, Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, and Jackson Jobe. That's 3 above average big leaguers and 1 in Jobe, who appears well on his way to being an above average big leaguer. The Royals are talented. They've got 2 first rounders in their everyday lineup, Bobby Witt Jr. and Jonathan India. They were both top 5 picks. They have 4 former first rounders in their rotation, but it's a little different than having top 3 picks. The highest pick of those first rounders was Michael Wacha. He was 19th overall, and only 1 of the 4 in their rotation, who was a first round pick, was actually drafted by the Royals. You give the Tigers a lot of credit for that, because that's how it's supposed to work. When you draft that high in the draft that many years in a row, you'd better come away with a big chunk of a core of a contending team, because the Royals did exactly that. The Royals had 4 straight top 3 picks from 05 to 08. Those were Alex Gordon, Luke Hochevar, Mike Moustakas, and Eric Hosmer. That's the heart of the order of a championship team, right? And a useful reliever in Hochevar. That's how it's supposed to work. Unfortunately for the Royals, and why it feels like they've maybe fallen behind the Tigers in this short window of time, the Royals picked in the top 10 6 straight years. Top 10. Bobby Witt Jr., thumbs up.
Hit.
Jack Caglione, looking good. Blake Mitchell, who's rehabbing, and like in some circles, he's a top 100 prospect. He's only 20. Frank Mazzucato, command's looking a little wonky. I don't know, might be a reliever. And then Asa Lacy and Gavin Cross, who are going to play as many big league games as you and I. So
Dayton Moore.
How different, and look, I should be fair. I don't blame anybody for Asa Lacy. Anybody would have made that pick.
Gavin Cross was a terrible pick.
Yeah, Gavin Cross looks like it was a bad pick, kind of like a Hunter Dozier kind of bad pick. Frank Mazzucato was a reach that looks like it's not going to pay off.
Trying to sign under slot. Yeah,
but
we've been over it. Yeah.
How different would the Royals roster look right now if in 2020 and 2021, instead of taking Lacy and Cross, they'd ended up with a guy who was helping them right now?
You'd feel a lot better about the lineup. You would feel a whole lot more confident about their ability to get on base and move guys over and actually score runs. I do think it is probably worth mentioning here, because nothing is ever 1-to-1 usually. There is an element of luck involved in this too. And I'd like to go back to your first point. AJ Hinch is a great manager. I'm with you. I think Matt Quatrero is above the middle, like the average manager. I don't know how far above, but I think he's at least slightly above that median trend line. AJ Hinch is well above it. Why was AJ Hinch available? Why were the Tigers able to hire AJ Hinch?
He was the
manager for the biggest baseball scandal in decades. Well, about 2 decades anyway. Like that, a decade and a half at the time. Like he was available because his team got caught flagrantly cheating, and then he had to get fired because of it. And his reclamation project, or trying to rehab his image, was taking over a god awful Tigers team at the time, and has built him up because again he's really good at his job. But how different do they look if they have a slightly above average manager? Because I don't know how much a manager affects, what the wins above replacement for a manager is. But I think Hinch is one of the strongest in baseball. Yeah. And developmentally, the guys he brings in his plan, they help.
Yeah.
But you got to get a little bit lucky.
High-end talent wins you games in the major leagues. How do you get access to high-end talent? Draft high in the draft and hit on those picks. The Tigers have, and they're really starting to reap those benefits now. And that's why they're where they are in the Central Division. Speaking of high-end talent taken high in the draft, Jack Caglione last night in Omaha will tell you how he did and give you an interesting comparison from a Ken Rosenthal article in The Athletic. That's next on 580 Sports Talk. Your daily Jack Caglione update.
Best Jimi Hendrix song, by the way.
Oh, easily. Jack went 0 for 2 with a pair of walks in a storm chaser loss to the St. Paul Saints last night. Sam Long with a blown save. He's on rehab down AAA. Walked a pair and then gave up a 3-run bomb to Matt Wallner, also rehabbing for Minnesota.
Man, I saw him in person when he was with the Wind Surge. Saw him a couple summers ago. It's like, God, this dude's going to hit 35 bombs a year.
He got a chance.
Yeah, he's a talented dude.
Yeah.
Moves like a tree, like an orc.
So that's what Jack did on the diamond last night. Ken Rosenthal had this tidbit about Jack in his notes column in The Athletic today. While outfield defense is important at spacious Kauffman Stadium, writes Rosenthal, club officials expect Caglione will be adequate in a corner. The Royals, whose outfielders have combined for the second worst OPS in the majors, cannot afford to be picky, even as they worry about Caglione's tendency to chase. We talked about that yesterday. One rival evaluator, in his write-up of Caglione as an amateur, described him as having, quote, ridiculous strength and giving off, quote, peak Matt Olson vibe, look, and profile. That's the A's turned Braves first baseman, with the potential to one day lead the majors. in home runs.
I would take Matt Olson.
Listen, if you told me right now that was the best case scenario outcome for Jack Caglione's hitting profile was Matt Olson, I would jump at it. Matt Quatrero would sever the tip of his pinky finger to put Matt Olson in the middle of his lineup.
Yeah, Matt Olson is super durable, a 2-time All-Star, couple Gold Gloves, a Silver Slugger. Yeah, that's a good player.
Yeah, a really good hitter, really dangerous hitter from the left side. And if Cags is that's a great outcome. Matt Derrick will join us next. We're going to pivot, talk some Chiefs with our Chiefs Insider on 580 Sports Talk. Let's go to Kansas City and speak with our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline as he does every Friday at this time here on 580 Sports Talk. You can read all of Matt's insights at ChiefsDigest.com. And, of course, you can check him out across all social medias under Matt Derrick. Just not X, the everything app right now, because X is down. Matt Derrick joining us
kidding me.
on the show. Yeah, no, crazy, right? Matt, OTAs were open to the media yesterday. What stood out to you from your observations of OTAs?
Yeah, I mean, Dan, it's as always, it's a passing camp. So receivers should impress you. And if they're not impressing you at this time of year, they're certainly not going to impress you when the pads come on. But I'll tell you what, even without Hollywood Brown out there and even without Rashee Rice, I thought the speed of this receiver group really stands out. And, then when you couple it with what Patrick Mahomes told us and really the specific point that he said that, Andy Reid's pushing him to push the ball downfield and encouraging him to take those shots. And that this year the mentality is, hey, let's take the deep shots to open things up rather than dumping things off and going short to open things up. They want to, I mean, whether it's just a talking point, whether it's lip service, I mean, Mahomes is making it sound like that they want to take advantage of that speed and push the ball downfield to open things up. rather than the reverse of what they tried last year, which, I mean, they were forced to do with the personnel that they had and the injuries. But it seems like it's a different attitude this year, that they want Mahomes to tick things up a notch and push the ball more and take advantage of his arm and push the ball downfield.
Since you talked about wide receivers, I want to ask what you saw from Jalen Royals, the rookie out of Utah State, his first OTAs. And I know there were some people picking him out for a couple of nice catches that he made. What stood out to you about Royals? What did it look like he had to offer?
Yeah, the comfort level that he's got out there is really impressive, especially, based on his background and his kind of, I don't want to say coming out of nowhere, but there's a little bit of that aspect to it. It would be very easy for him to be intimidated, and he doesn't seem to be. He seems really comfortable out there. He's aggressive as far as going after the football. I'm still a little bit modest on his expectations for this year, mostly because if all things go well, what's he going to be? I mean, he should be the fourth receiver on this team. And he's only going to be more than that, more than likely, if Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, or Xavier Worthy gets hurt. Those guys should all have bigger numbers than him. But he looks really comfortable. And so, is he going to be closer to a Chris Conley or a Demarcus Robinson in year one? Oh, I don't think there's any doubt at this point. It's going to be more like Chris Conley, if maybe optimistically more than Chris Conley, maybe more than Sky Moore. Time will tell, but he looks equipped to do it so far.
You also picked out as part of your players to watch from your OTA notebook, which everybody should go read at ChiefsDigest.com. You picked out the UDFA tight end, Jake Brenningstool out of Clemson. That was a name that you had mentioned when we were talking right after the draft about undrafted free agents that you thought were particularly intriguing. And the Chiefs gave Brenningstool a decent chunk of change as a UDFA, suggesting that they really wanted him as part of their program. How real are his chances of making the 53, particularly given the injury to Jared Wiley?
Yeah, and I think that definitely enhances things, and that's a reason that makes him a little bit more to watch. Yesterday, the Chiefs, they didn't spend a ton of time with multiple, tight ends on the field. They spent a lot of times with three wide receivers and just one tight end. Was that kind of planned because they weren't going to have Travis Kelce out there yesterday? Maybe so. So, the tight ends as a group didn't get a huge number of opportunities. But hey, he's working out there. Right now, I mean, he would be in competition with Robert Tonyan. I know an old friend of Brendan's there for that maybe third spot, because it does look like Jared Wiley is going to be probably out to start the season, and maybe it won't be until maybe late September, early October before you could start to maybe get him back into the mix. But right now, I mean, Brenningstool, again, I mean, it's the physical abilities that he's got. He's such a big target. He's easy to see. And on top of that, just the skill set. I think I only had him for one catch yesterday, but it was a veteran catch. It was a ball in traffic that he was able to make the grab on. He uses his hands really well. He doesn't wait for the ball to come into him. He goes to get the football. He's got good vision as far as, like I said, I mean, it was a catch in traffic. I've seen a lot of young tight ends who would drop that football, but because it wasn't completely on target. I mean, it was thrown to kind of make sure that nobody could get it but him, and he got it. So, and it was some of the same things we saw during the rookie minicamp. I mean, I've just been really impressed with his hands and his ability to, secure the football and kind of use his body to secure the football. Those are big skills to have for an undrafted rookie free agent. And I think right now, based on what I've seen, I think he is the third best tight end on this team.
Listen, I got a lot of love still for my guy, Big Bob Tonyan, but he moves at this point like a sea animal that just grew legs, like super awkward and cumbersome. Like I don't think he's beating anybody out, but that's my personal opinion. We're talking to Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com, our Chiefs insider. He joins us every Friday at this time to talk all things Chiefs on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. Matt, I want to go back to Rashee Rice. We had a listener who was asking about this yesterday because we were talking about his role in the offense this year, and he said, well, hold on, aren't we worried about potentially seeing a suspension for him this year? Have you heard anything on that front and whether or not there could be some discipline working its way down the pipe for Rashee Rice?
It really remains another big mystery. It sounds like the hearing for June might get pushed back. There's a wrinkle in the case, from my understanding, is that his lawyer is a Texas state legislator, and apparently there's some caveats in the law that allow legislators to have cases pushed back when they're in session. So there may be an extension to that kind of pushes back the proceedings involving Rice. And I'll tell you what, I mean, this has been for the last couple of months that the Chiefs behind the scenes, they feel like that once the case is wrapped up, and remember, I mean, the NFL wheels of justice run pretty slowly. I mean, it can sometimes, once a plea is reached, it can be pretty quick, like it was with Justin Ross a couple of years ago when he had a plea bargained and the NFL handed down the suspension pretty quickly. But a lot of times, I mean, it still takes like 2 to 3 months later before the NFL does anything. So, if the season starts and there hasn't been any resolution to the case, what's the likelihood of the NFL taking action this season? Probably slim. And then the Chiefs, at the same time, they feel like that there's not going to be a big suspension. They feel like it's going to be probably closer to 2 games than 4 or to 6 games. And if that's the case, I mean, that's something that the Chiefs could, I think, handle, even if it was a suspension handed out this season.
Well, and even big picture from that point, Matt, I mean, if you're talking about this guy is a menace to society and he shouldn't have done this and it was dangerous and he needs to face punishment, if it takes, upwards of 2 years or more for any sort of punishment to come down, especially one that's only, 2 to 4 games, I mean, that's got to feel like what's even the point, right? Like, why are you, if it's going to take this long to miss out on 2 to 4 games, which is now under a quarter of the season, like why did we even bother talking about a punishment in the first place if you're the NFL?
That's a great question. I mean, and this is, I think, a complicated case to a degree because, well, let's face it. I mean, what he did sure was criminal.
Yeah.
It was probably more criminal in Texas than it was in some other states, but that's probably neither here nor there. It was still something he shouldn't have done. And in the best case scenario, you can paint it as just a mistake of youth. But at the same time, people were hurt and no one was killed. And that seems to sometimes be the barometer on these things. And let's face it, he was lucky that nobody was. The penalties, his career could have been over if somebody was, killed in that wreck. So it's a difficult one for me too. I mean, I have the hard time separating the personal stuff, but at the same time, you see the kid and, he does seem like that he has at least matured from that incident, that it was a youthful mistake. Do you want his career ruined for that? Maybe some people do, maybe some people don't. I don't know, but it is an interesting case for the NFL because again, I mean, this wasn't a premeditated act of violence. I mean, it was certainly a mistake, but it wasn't intentional. And that's where the NFL has usually drawn the line, whether it's once again, we don't know that if drugs or alcohol are involved, that's not been alleged, but that's been another dividing line for the NFL. When it has just been accidents, we don't really have much of a standard for what the NFL does in these cases.
Switching gears from the players on the field to the players in their pocketbooks, obviously a number of guys are up for extensions for the first time for the Chiefs this offseason and going forward. That incredible, legendary draft class of 2022. Trent McDuffie is going to get extended, probably top of the market. You do not let all-pro, first-team all-pro corners just walk when they're only, 25 years old? And I think most people, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, Matt, expect George Karlaftis will get a contract extension too. Do you think anyone else from that 2022 draft class, now that they're eligible for extensions, do you think anyone else is likely, and maybe some will, but is anyone likely to get another deal as it stands? Like I look at Brian Cook, and he's been useful at times, but is he good enough to get another deal? Leo Chanel, you might be able to get him cheap since he's a third linebacker. You also just drafted another linebacker in Jeffrey Bassa and re-signed Nick Bolton. So do you think right now it's likely that anyone who came beyond the first round in 2022 gets a new extension this offseason?
Yeah, it's a great question because, you set aside the 2 first-round draft picks because they're in kind of a different, ballpark. But then you look at the rest of it, and Chanel might be the exception because I think everybody else you would put into the, category that they probably all still have something to prove. I mean, everybody in that group has kind of dealt with injuries, in some form or another. You've got a lot of guys that have performed well, but, are they going to get top of the market deals? I mean, probably not. I mean, Jalen Watson, I think, is a really interesting one because, what could Jalen Watson get on the open market? Right now, I mean, could he get like $10 million? Basically what the Chiefs just gave to Christian Fulton? I mean, I don't know. I mean, that could be the case. And if that is, have you just basically signed, Christian Fulton to be your Jalen Watson replacement for a year or two? I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, getting deals with any of those guys done, other than Chanel, which I think he's got probably established value. You know what he is, what he could be. The other thing that probably helps is that, Bossa probably projects better as a weak side linebacker than the strong side like Leo. So you probably could really use both those guys. So I don't think it's necessarily either or. I think you'd love to have both of those players. It's just, what can you afford Chanel, or is he just a luxury piece? But everybody else, would any of them, Najee Johnson, Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams, Brian Cook, would any of them, sign long term right now on what would probably be the team's terms? Because they all need contract years, and and Isaiah Pacheco too. I mean, he needs a contract year if he wants to get the most money. Because I don't think any of them, if you're the Chiefs right now, that you would necessarily pay them what players think their market value is. Because all those guys think that, and rightfully so. I mean, they probably should be betting on themselves, go out and have a contract year, and see if they can get the most money possible. None of them are coming off contract years. So that's probably the challenge of getting a long-term deal with them, is that I think that right now there's probably a pretty big discrepancy between the team's view of their value and the players' view of their values.
Last one for Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com, our Chiefs insider, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. Josh Simmons, he led your OTA notebook posted on ChiefsDigest.com, because it really sounds like his progress in his return from his patellar tendon injury has surprised even the coaching staff to this point. Do you feel like there is more of a chance now, as it stands, that Josh Simmons could, if not play, even start for the Chiefs this season? Or do you feel like those chances are about the same, that they're still going to really be cautious with him?
I think they're still going to be pretty cautious with him. I mean, and you can kind of see that now, because Josh Simmons seems, I mean, he's going along with the team line as far as, hey, I'll do what, the team says that I can do. But, I mean, he certainly looks like he's ready to do more and try to do more. I mean, what the Chiefs don't want to do is they don't want a setback. They don't want anything that is going to hurt him long-term for short-term gain. Because at this point, they don't even really know what they have in Jalen Moore, and won't know until the pads come on. And even then, you might not even know until you get into the season what you truly have there. And I'll say this, I mean, behind the scenes, I think I know the Chiefs will still tell you the best case scenario for them would be that Jalen Moore plays lights out. He plays all season at left tackle. Next year, he moves to right tackle, and Josh Simmons steps in on the left side and plays for the next decade. If they need Josh Simmons to play this year, it's because either somebody's gotten hurt or Jalen Moore has been terrible. I mean, I'm not saying that there's no chance that there's a scenario where, Josh Simmons just looks too fantastic, whether it's in camp or once the season begins, and Jalen Moore looks, average, and the Chiefs are like, okay, well, Josh Simmons is the better player. That could still happen. But I still think that, Josh Simmons playing a lot this year probably means something else bad has happened for the Chiefs. And that's why I don't know if you're a Chiefs fan, are you really rooting for Simmons to play, or are you better off just letting him sit? I mean, if the Chiefs win a Super Bowl and Jalen Moore plays the entire season and Josh Simmons doesn't, I think you're still calling that a successful year. but, it's not like, I think you have to play Josh Simmons, but when he's ready, it could certainly impact when he's, ready to play. And I always say, especially with knee injuries like this for offensive linemen, returning to play and returning to play at the level that you're accustomed to, two different things.
Matt Derrick covers the Chiefs at ChiefsDigest.com. Go read that OTA notebook from earlier this week. It is a must-read for the best Chiefs info. He joins us every Friday on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
Appreciate you guys. Take care, my friends.
That is Matt Derrick. We'll step aside for a timeout. Wrap up this hour. 580 Sports Talk next. We got like 30 seconds for a change my mind. Hit me with it, Brendan.
Change my mind. Baseball players gotta start buttoning the whole uniform. You look like a schlub. Even the one open is bad. I've seen 2. I saw 3 on a Cub the other night. No, button that crap up.
Can't be 3. You look classy, you'll be classy.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah. I don't know. Like
slovenly.
You know me. I want high socks and stirrups.
Yes.
Like I want that classic aesthetic back, and it's never coming back because guys like the pajama length baseball pants. But yeah, the unbuttoned tops, you look like a slob. 100%.
Agreed.
Especially if there's no undershirt. Then you really look like a slob. Next hour, 580 Sports Talk. We're going to talk a little bit more Chiefs, some NFL notes. We'll talk some Big 12 football as well, and we'll crown a May champion on What Is Wrong With You. Stay with us, 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk on a Friday afternoon in the capital city of Kansas. The gang's all here. Dan, Brendan, Spencer. We've got you for the next 2 hours, plus some overtime here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. And, of course, streaming on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on our Facebook page, WIBW News. Happy to have you, however you're listening to or watching the show, whenever you are listening to or watching the show. Hello to everybody who's catching the archive, catching the playback, maybe listening to the podcast on our website, 580WIBW.com, or on Spotify at 580 Sports Talk. However, whenever, wherever you're hearing 580 Sports Talk today, thanks for being part of it. We appreciate you all. We've got, in this hour, some football to talk about on the program. Some of the latest tidbits from Adam Teicher of ESPN.com about the Chiefs and their contract situations, a couple of contract extensions that the Chiefs would like to get done, and some other thoughts on the Chiefs as well. We are going to also ask some Big 12 football questions coming up at the bottom of this hour. I'm starting to get excited for college football. Had a couple of thoughts about K-State and beating who you're supposed to, and what are we expecting from KU football this year? Just to name a couple of the things we'll chew on later on this hour. Plus, we will pick, it will be hard, but we will pick a What Is Wrong With You champion for the month of May between the cool mom and a dead man, a hog farm, a nun, and a good bottle of bourbon. We got 2 outstanding stories, one short to the point title, one very long and cumbersome title, but 2 very good stories, and quite a showdown on the May Championship of What Is Wrong With You. We want to hear from you as the show goes on today. Text line is open, 785-272-9429. That's 785-272-9429. You can also interact with us in the chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. As we broadcast live, the chat is open on the web browser or your mobile device, and you can, if you are logged into your YouTube account or Google account, interact with us and your fellow listeners as we go along. We appreciate hearing from you all here on 580 Sports Talk. I thought Adam Teicher was hanging it up. Don't you remember that?
Yeah.
Cheeseburger bar for Adam Teicher's last day. And Andy Reid bought everybody cheeseburgers. And
they did it all up for him.
Yeah. Maybe he won't make it to week 1, but he's still out there in the trenches.
He's going to miss it too much, I guess.
Man, can't leave the Chiefs being alone. The game needs me.
Maybe because Adam is a graduate of Michigan State University. Maybe he's just so bummed that KU now owns Michigan State and is MSU's daddy that he just can't think about the start of the college football season. So he's got to stay focused on the Chiefs.
Yeah, I don't know when his contract is up or what, but it kind of threw me a little bit. I got the text notification and get the ESPN news notifications. I have found that has helped. Getting the ESPN team news notifications, that has helped me a little bit stay off of social media more, slightly. I'm trying to break the habit of being on it all the time and get down to where it's some of the time.
Yeah,
I'm not going to kick it entirely. It's you get down to 1 pack a day and not 3 packs a day. Is what I'm really trying to do here.
I have an answer for you from per Adam Teicher's X account. Back on February 10th, he quote tweeted his tweet about not being able to cover a 3-peat or whatever. About his time covering that last Super Bowl, he said, I will still be around for another few months at ESPN to cover the Chiefs draft and off-season practice. No more games or seasons for me. It's been quite a ride.
Okay, so we probably won't be training camp,
nope.
Teicher, but
probably a new guy by training camp.
It's me.
Is it?
No. God.
What an announcement.
I could not do the beat writer thing. I could not do it.
Man, so there's a reason I got into broadcasting and not sports writing. And I remember distinctly making that decision. It was when I was interning at KOA Radio in Denver. This would have been when I was in college. I was interning, and the internship was I would go to games and just get post-game audio, bring it back, cut it up, and then they would use it on news and sportscast throughout the day on the 50,000 watt blowtorch of the West, KOA in Denver. And so it was a summer internship my first time. That would do a more extended internship during my junior year. But I did a summer internship before my junior year. And so it was just a lot of Rockies games, right? You go to the Rocky game, you go to the clubhouse after the game, get back to the studios in the Denver Tech Center, cut up the audio, take you about 30 minutes, and then go home for the night. Anyway, there was a game, it was a really good game, and went into. I remember the AP writer, and I do not remember the guy's name, and I don't think he's with us any longer. But I cannot for the life of me remember the name of one of the AP writers. It might have not even been AP. It might have been another like UPI or Reuters or some other like source like that probably doesn't send reporters to individual games like that anymore. But I just remember how much he would complain if the game was long, if he had to rewrite his copy, if he was on a deadline that he was going to miss, and just complain. And it just seemed like that was all he did was complain. And he could not sit and be like, hey, man, this is a great baseball game. Like, couldn't do it. Too worried about deadline. And obviously, the journalism biz is a little different now as it pertains to deadlines, but it's still always something of a concern. And I vividly remember sitting in the Coors Field press box thinking, man, I never want to worry about a deadline in my life. I don't want to be on deadline. I just want to, like, win a good ball game, however long it lasts.
Yeah, those kind of things have disappeared a little bit with. Go ahead.
Texter from the 785. No, it was not Woody Page. Woody famously at that point was not showing up to Rockies games.
Yeah.
This was 2006. This is the year before they won the pennant. And he was famously at that point just completely checked out on going to Rockies games.
That's very funny. Did you get to know Woody at all?
I did not. I never met Woody.
Yeah.
I met some other. I met Mark Kisla, who was also, you saw him on Around the Horn once or twice maybe. But I met everybody else but Woody. Never met Woody.
With a lot more, like, guys who moved to the Athletic to write don't have deadlines anymore. Like, they have a deadline, but it's, okay, get it in by like noon the next day. It's not, you have to have this in by 10:05 or it's not going to get printed. It's a little bit different these days. That being said, I remember this was about baseball specifically, and it was about being a broadcaster and also being a beat writer. I had someone tell me once a long time ago, I was at some sort of conference, and they said, the great get married or if you want to get divorced. And I took that to heart. Oh, that's probably, but like, you're never home, like ever. And you're gone for a long time. And if your team is good, you're gone till November.
Yeah, you got those, like 10-day, 11-day, 3-city road trips in the middle of the summer.
And you're going to be gone at spring training.
Yeah, baseball in particular. And football asks a lot of you now, not in terms of like going places, but you got to be always on because the NFL beat is now a 12-month of the year beat.
Yep. You go from week 1 through week 18. And then if you work for a national outlet, like you work at the Athletic or you work for a national paper or something, your beat might be something else, but you're going to playoff games and you're going to write about them because they have all this content. And then that ends.
And the Athletic stopped doing their initial model was we were going to have essentially a bureau in every major sports city. And then they realized, well, okay, like nobody was reading, like nobody read their Rockies coverage. So they fired that guy. Yeah. They fired Nick Groke, which like that's wild to me that you would just like quit on coverage of a team. But like the Athletic did that. And now if there's anything like they don't have a Nuggets beat writer, but they've got a guy out of Utah who would cover like Oklahoma City, Denver, Utah now.
Like CJ, who is like the de facto KU writer, but he also covers Mizzou and K-State and
then big features.
Yeah. So it's a little bit like that. But yeah, I don't know. I like writing. I've always enjoyed writing, and I like doing game coverage. And that was
my initial thought. Like, when I went into college thinking that's what I want. I want to be Woody Page. Like, I don't know if I necessarily want to be exactly like Woody Page, but that's what I want. I want to call him. I want to be a columnist. I did. And look, I don't want to sound like we're complaining about like the lives that we are fortunate to live, or the life that anybody like. At the end of the day, this is like a dream. Like I have a golden ticket, essentially. I have a pass with my name on it, and I show it, and I get to sit in the air conditioning and watch a Royals game or a K-State game. I get to go. I get to I've been at Allen Fieldhouse for big games. I've covered a Final Four. I've covered Major League Baseball postseason. It is a blessing to get to do what we do. And that is particularly why that incident stuck out to me. Like the life of a beat writer could make you so sour that you would complain about this thing that you were getting to do.
It is, and not everybody by any means, but there is definitely an air of like the bitter sports writer. Like the guy who complains if the coffee's not hot enough in the press box and is going to miss a game on Saturday because Springsteen is coming to town and just collected 100,000 Marriott points. There is a lot of truth to
it's
that.
more Jason Isbell now. I think we shifted from the Springsteen generation of sports writer to the Jason Isbell generation.
Yes, no, that's certainly true.
I have a guy I went to college with. He was full-time newspaper prep sports in West Virginia. He's from the Atlanta area, and now he has a work from home job. Not too sure exactly what he does. But then he freelances for like does local preps down there, and he freelances for MLB.com. So whenever like he would text me sometimes or message me, he'd be like, "Hey, so Nats reporter's out tonight, so I'm covering the Nats at Braves." Like,
nice.
You want me to like? He's like, "Do you have any like? What do you as a Nats fan, like as a journalist, what would you think about?" Because I'm not. He's like, I'm not in tune to them,
right?
And so like sometimes I'd be like, "This is what you look out for," kind of things.
No, that's a pretty cool gig. Yeah,
and he was in he just gets to go like he does Fever games too, or not Fever, Atlanta Dream,
the WNBA team. Yeah, I knew I wanted to work in radio. Like I've known that since I was 14 years old. So I'm glad I'm decent at it because
when I was little,
I had no backup.
Yeah, trust me, I ain't got a plan B either. When I was a kid, I wanted to do radio. I just didn't know like how do you access it? That was the thing. It felt a lot more accessible to, you write for the high school newspaper and then you write for the college newspaper and then you get a job and you go from there. Radio never felt accessible in that way. I wasn't like you went to a high school that had a radio station. But once I got to college and there was a radio station at college, I just walked through the door and they made them throw me out, and they never did for 4 years. And that was how I built a career doing what I did. If your kids want to work in sports media, reach out to us. If you want to work in sports media, reach out to us. We cannot hire you, but we can give you advice.
If you own a business and want to advertise during sports media, I'd be happy to help you with that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's advertise our wares here on 580 Sports Talk. Anyhow, man, we strayed way.
Anyway, happy retirement, field. Adam Teicher.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for these tidbits from ESPN.com earlier today. And it's not anything that we don't already know broad strokes wise. The Chiefs want to get the Trey Smith extension done.
Yep.
They really want to get that done. That is priority number one. Teicher writes, the Chiefs are making the re-signing of Smith more of an immediate priority than doing so for cornerback Trent McDuffie or defensive end George Karlaftis. Smith can reasonably expect a contract that would make him the highest paid guard in the league. Nothing surprising, particularly there. As it pertains to McDuffie, Teicher notes that the Chiefs have not invested big money at cornerback since Brett Veach became the GM in 2017. They traded Marcus Peters before he got expensive, although that was certainly, there were some other circumstances there with the Peters deal. They traded L'Jarius Sneed rather than give him an extension. They didn't re-sign Charvarius Ward and saw him get a nice chunk of change from the San Francisco 49ers. But, Teicher writes, McDuffie could change all that. The Chiefs see him as an ideal cornerback in Steve Spagnuolo's defensive system because he can play outside or in the slot and is a capable blitzer and a willing run defender. There is no need, Teicher continues, to rush to a deal for either side. Now, that is because, at least from this perspective, that there is a fifth-year option on McDuffie, so he is extended through 2026. Chiefs don't need to lift a finger, and he will be on their roster in 2026. They've already taken care of that bit of business. But I do feel like it would benefit the Chiefs if they beat Sauce Gardner and the Jets to the negotiating table, because we've seen the big money already handed out from the Broncos to Patrick Surtain II, from the Carolina Panthers to J.C. Horn for God knows what reason, and from Houston to Derrick Stingley. It's $30 million a year right now is the going rate. If Sauce Gardner elevates that per year standard for an upper echelon NFL cornerback, then the Chiefs are going to have to pay Trent McDuffie more. I would think you would want to get a market deal now before Sauce Gardner maybe resets it. I would have my eye on negotiations in New York. If I were Brett Veach, I'd have my ear to the streets and be wanting to know, okay, like, are they close? Or are Gardner and the Jets close? Because if they're close, maybe I need to call McDuffie's people and see if we can't just say, hey, $30 million a year. What do you say?
Yeah, you want to get that one done. That's more important, in my opinion, in terms of timeliness than George Karlaftis. And I do think both are going to get done at some point, but I would rather get the McDuffie one done because that's going to be top of market. George Karlaftis is not going to get Myles Garrett money or Max Crosby money. That's just not going to happen. He'll get handsomely compensated, but it's not going to look like that no matter when he signs. Trey Smith, there's not a whole lot of competition for that right now. You want to get in. If it's going to save you only $1 million, okay, great. You saved $1 million. I mean, that's relevant. That's useful. That's tangible if you're the Chiefs relative to the salary cap. So I'm with you. I would rather get that done sooner. It also would be a lot funnier because Trent McDuffie's better than Sauce Gardner. So that would be a much funnier outcome that the Jets would have to overpay them.
Why do you like McDuffie better than Gardner?
I think Trent McDuffie is a better tackler, and I would
agree.
I think he is a more focused player. You have never had to question, hey, is Trent McDuffie all the way locked in? Whereas I think you had to spend almost the entirety of 2024 asking if Sauce Gardner was locked in. Are there extenuating circumstances like one of these franchises is good and one is the New York Jets?
Right.
Obviously. The very good defensive-minded head coach, and good head coach, no, but good defensive mind, yes. Robert Saleh getting fired, 6 weeks into the year, 5 weeks into the year? That certainly threw things off. He tried to get buddy-buddy with Aaron Rodgers. When Rodgers showed up in New York, Rodgers became even kookier than he was before, and that obviously melted down on Sauce. I think Trent McDuffie is one of the two best corners. I think he is one of the three best corners in the NFL, and I don't think that club includes Sauce Gardner. Okay. I think Sauce is good. I will, in fact, go as far as to say I think Sauce Gardner is a very good player and very, very talented.
You've got him behind Surtain, McDuffie, and Stingley. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I think all three of those. Like, McDuffie might be the worst of the three just because he doesn't take the ball away very much, hasn't taken it away much, but God, like, a corner who is not only a decent tackler, but is willing to mix it up. He's also the best blitzer of the group. You could honestly tell me that any given team would like any of the three of them the most, and I would say, oh, yeah, I get it. I mean, shoot, I would understand if a team said they like Gardner the most. I think he's very good. Being the fourth best at a position where there are 96 starters, or at least 64 in the league, pretty good. Pretty good spot to be in. I just think those other three guys are like the A tier or the number one tier, and Sauce is like not even a half a step behind him. But that being said, he is certainly good enough. He's going to set the market. Whoever signs next is going to set the market at corner. Yes. And then the guy after him is going to reset the market. So if you're the Chiefs, again, even $1 million, gets 121 million versus 122 million total value. That's something that is tangible money that is saved against the salary cap. So that's why I think that one. But the thing is, and we've complained about this for years, the Chiefs don't always operate like that. Like, they don't seem nearly as plus to get these things done as I often feel they should be. And I mean, they've won 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years. Like, I can't complain that much, but I would want to get that deal done ASAP.
There is technically, because you do have that 5th-year option, but I would rather be done with that before, because there is also a note in the same notes column from Rich Samini, who's the Jets beat writer for ESPN.com, who notes that Gardner is thought to be seeking at least $30 million a year, which is what Stingley got from the Texans. So at least 30 for Sauce. I would just go ahead and say, let's just get this hammered out. 3 for $90 for Stingley. I do that for McDuffie. I think his people take it. I think that gets done. I think that's a reasonable starting point for an extension between the Chiefs and McDuffie. Something else that I thought was interesting to discuss from CBS Sports, Cody Benjamin earlier today published biggest remaining needs for NFL contenders ahead of post-June 1 cuts. We talk about, like, most of the rosters are pretty set in stone, but you are going to have players who are designated June 1 cuts and become free agents.
Mm-hmm.
And there might be, it's obviously not as much of a feeding frenzy as the official opening of the free agency period, but there are going to be some players who might very well hit the market. Jair Alexander could be released, the cornerback from the Packers. Jalen Ramsey could find himself on the open market if a trade partner isn't found. Kirk Cousins is another name. If you're really dying for a quarterback, Pittsburgh, and maybe don't want to give it to the guy that thinks nanobots are real, maybe Kirk Cousins becomes an option as a post-June 1 cut. But the Chiefs are on the list of contenders who have a need, and that need, according to Cody Benjamin, is offensive line. And this is what Benjamin writes, quote, "They didn't ignore the front after getting torched in Super Bowl 59, retaining Trey Smith, signing Jalen Moore, and drafting Josh Simmons early. The question is, are they actually any better in the trenches? The tackles in particular are projections." I think that's a fair question to ask, but I also think however that question gets answered, it's going to be answered by the guys who are already on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
agreed.
There is enough internal confidence in Kingsley Suamataia to say he's our left guard. They're paying Juwan Taylor $22 million this year. That's starter money. They're paying Jalen Moore $15 million this year. If they felt comfortable enough to do that, they feel comfortable enough to start him. Josh Simmons is a first-round pick, and it sounds like, talking to Matt Derrick in the 3 o'clock hour, even though there is excitement for how quickly he's progressing from his injury, the expectation still is that they will slow play it with the 32nd overall pick in this most recent draft. So to me, what that says is the solutions are already on the roster. Whether it's good enough or not, we'll see. But the Chiefs are not a team right now, to me, who feels like, man, we're still scrambling at offensive line. They've got the pieces, and they're going to try and make it work with the pieces they got. And they'll publicly be confident in those pieces, but we'll see how much of that is justified when the rubber really meets the road.
Yeah. I get it with the tackle is the big question. Isn't so boring. Like, left tackle, left guard, left tackle. Like, okay, I get it. The rationale that he uses here is my biggest sticking point with what Cody Benjamin has to say. The question is, are they actually any better in the trenches? The tackles in particular are projections. I don't think right tackle's a projection at all. We know exactly what Juwan Taylor is. Like, exactly what he is. And he is a fine, more than good enough starting right tackle. Is he elite? No. Is he Mitchell Schwartz? Pre-back injury? Absolutely not. Is he more than good enough? Yeah, without question. We've seen that plenty of times. The penalties are annoying, but like generally speaking, it's fine. The most important stuff he is fine with.
Every tackle were Walter Jones, and that's the curve you were grading on, then yeah, you'd be frustrated with Juwan Taylor.
Right, but I'm maybe I'm just too passive about it. I'm not nearly as worked up about Juwan Taylor as a lot of people are. Left tackle is a projection, yeah, but I don't think I'm not nearly as concerned about it as I think most people are, which maybe is going to blow up in my face. Maybe Jalen Moore really sucks. Maybe Josh Simmons isn't healthy at any point this season and it becomes a big issue, and we'll address that when we get there. But like, they made moves. I think you had a 32-year-old guard playing tackle as your best option last year. Like, we've got an actual tackle set to start at that position this year. That's pretty valuable. That's a good thing. That's a good place to be. So I get it. I understand the overall answer, but I do not think the work shown to get that answer is correct.
98 days until the Chiefs kick off. That is, per the current roster, Janarius Robinson days until kickoff. The former Raider who the Chiefs signed this offseason for some edge rusher depth. Janarius Robinson has a sack and a half in his NFL career, puts him 43 career sacks behind the best number 98 in Chiefs history. Going to give the old heads a second to rack their brains.
I've got the number or the name in front of me.
I do too. It's Eric Hicks.
Eric Hicks.
The former Maryland Terrapin who racked up 44 and a half sacks in 9 seasons as a Chief.
Do you know the last Chief to wear 98 in a game?
Turk Wharton. Yeah.
Good player.
I'm a
I
mixed
still can't believe that he got the third most money of any defensive tackle this year. That's amazing.
Well, it was from the Panthers, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Well, yeah, they had money to burn and they needed players badly.
In context, yeah, that absolutely makes sense. We're going to take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, it's the May Championship on What Is Wrong With You. Two stories enter. One will leave as our May champion on What Is Wrong With You, sponsored, as always, by State Farm agent Ryan Mo Winkle Insurance and Financial Services. Give Mo a call at 785-273-1572 and see what Mo can do for you. Two stories this month that have made it to the championship. Both of these were Monday winners that ran the rack for their entire week. So these are juggernaut stories. In one corner, we have a dead man, a hog farm, a nun, and a good bottle of bourbon. 57-year-old Jill Sutherland in New York entered a guilty plea after being charged with using an interstate commerce facility in a murder-for-hire scheme. A man who eventually became an FBI informant set fire to a car in November, reportedly because Sutherland asked him to do it. It was a love triangle, as so many of these stories are. Sutherland's girlfriend's baby daddy was in jail. And, well, first, Sutherland had the future informant set the man's mother's car on fire. So that's where it starts. And then eventually the FBI gets wind that this guy is doing dirt, and they flip him and turn him into an informant. The criminal complaint stated Sutherland wanted the man dead upon his January release from prison, and Sutherland would forgive the informant of any debt he may have owed him. But Sutherland wanted the man dead and gone, disposed of at a hog farm in Pennsylvania. The informant recorded the conversations that he had with Sutherland about killing the man and transporting the body. The informant said he had a van he could rent from a nun and take him to the farm and let the hogs eat him. So the man, an informant at this time, sold Sutherland a false story. Sutherland bought it, hook, line, and sinker. The hog farmer got involved. He was also an FBI plant. And that particular hog farmer, he was actually not a plant, he was an agent, and told Sutherland he would require additional payment up front for the use of his farm. The agreed upon exchange was for a bottle of wild turkey. So once Sutherland gave the informant an Easy Pass transponder, a bottle of bourbon for the hog farmer, and money for the hog farmer, the van, and gas, he was then taken into custody by the FBI.
Give me at least a rarer bourbon than that.
This is like the one red paperclip version of crime. We turn this bourbon into a hit, and we can turn the hit into more profit.
And then the hogs will eat the man.
My 30 to 50 feral hogs will clean it all up.
So that's that convoluted story.
It's just so bizarre. Like, every element of it is just so ridiculous. It's like a bad 1970s B movie.
Imagine how lucky Mr. Sutherland thought he was when he came across a hog farmer who was okay with the notion that, hey, you know what your hogs might like to eat? The other white meat. Man, can I interest you in feeding a dead man to your pigs? Yes. Holy cow! He had to feel like he won the lottery. And no, it was an FBI agent. Anyway, our other champion or championship contender is the cool mom, 33-year-old Teresa Bernal, charged with injury to a child because she took alcoholic Jell-O shots purchased on Facebook from a home business. It'd be one thing if there was Joe's Liquor was selling some booze on Facebook. It'd be wild sketchy, but it would be one thing.
Yeah.
Quite another to buy them from a home business. And these alcoholic Jell-O shots ended up at a child's elementary school Christmas party. Fifth graders consumed the shots. Nearly all reported having stomach aches and headaches. So there's one fifth grader who could hang. And then there were some others who vomited, passed out, got dizzy, could not stand back up. When questioned by a Tyler ISD police officer, that's Tyler, Texas, Bernal said she did not know the shots contained alcohol, but conceded they do taste different.
Yeah, I'll say.
So, that's cool, Mom. Brought booze to a fifth grade school party. Didn't think it was booze. She trusted Facebook Marketplace. So
where you definitely buy edible goods.
Yeah, where you should buy anything you eat or drink or consume. Ridiculous.
All right, we got a crown of champions.
This is tough.
Yeah, two really good
They're
stories.
really tough. Spencer, I've always appreciated your ability to sift through the nonsense to come to a strong conclusion. So I'm going to open the floor to you to vote first.
Look, this lady went on Facebook to buy a consumable that she was going to give to her kids' classmates. Go to the store. Go to the grocery store. Be a good parent.
And it's one thing if, they're cookies. You bought from, a Facebook bakery some cookies.
The thing, too, about buying it on Facebook, even if you really did not think there was alcohol in them, there could be anything else. You could have been buying Fent shots on Facebook Marketplace, and you'd be none the wiser. You know what? I'm with you, Spencer. I'm voting for the cool.
Why do you call them Jell-O shots by chance?
Yes.
What is that? What is the implication when you buy something that is a shot, Teresa? What is being implied?
Yeah.
They're not Jell-O cups.
Yeah. You go on Facebook, buy 150 cups of Jell-O for a party. Yeah. Jell-O jigglers.
That's something different.
Yeah.
I think I've seen those online before.
No, they were in the commercials with Bill Cosby when I was a kid.
With that in mind,
Bill Cosby's Jello Jigglers.
we're
We're way far
That's not what they were called.
yeah, that was something very, very different. Yeah, I'm going with Cool Mom. That's my final answer.
Yeah, I was going to vote for the Cool Mom, so it is indeed a clean sweep. The woman who bought Jello shots
Today,
on
the
Facebook
simplicity gets the win.
and sent them to school, not bothering to check, do these Jello shots have booze in them? I wonder if maybe they're appropriate for a 5th grader to have. They weren't, and she's in deep trouble. But she is, if it's any consolation, our May champion on What Is Wrong With You. Brought to you by State Farm Agent Ryan Mo Winkle Insurance and Financial Services. When we come back, what's a big question you have about K-State and KU football? We're a couple months out of kickoff, but I'm thinking college football. Think electronic arts for that. We'll talk a little Big 12 football when we come back on 580 Sports Talk. .444 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan, Brendan, Spencer. I'm getting fired up for college football. There's 2 things every year that get me revved up. It was 2 for a long time. Then it was 1 for about 11 years. And then last year it was 2 again. Because one of those things is the release and the hype cycle for the college football video game. Because that makes like the coming of the season feel real. And then it's the Phil Steele magazine. When you see that in the stores. Also Big 12 Media Days, which, big part of what we do here. That gets you excited too. But starting to get that vibe. Football's right around the corner. We got NFL OTAs, just thinking football. And I wanted to get to some thoughts here while we had a few minutes today on this Friday. Some thoughts about K-State and KU. What's a big question you have about these 2 programs as they approach their 2025 seasons? I'll pitch my 2 questions first. First, for K-State. This is the biggest thing to me for K-State. Can they beat who they're supposed to beat? I think that's going to be the defining question for 2025 for Kansas State. Can you win the games you're supposed to win? Because the last 2 seasons, Kansas State had an eye on playing for a conference championship, had some playoff aspirations, and those went by the wayside because they couldn't win the games they were supposed to win. They could not win at Houston last year. They could not win a game against Iowa State that Iowa State was begging them to take. They could not win those games that they were supposed to win, that were set up for them to win. And look, it's hard to go 12-0. You're never going to get a consistent 12-week, every game is the A game effort. You never get that. You don't get that even from the best programs. A lot of programs are able to out-talent their mistakes. That's why you do see the Ohio States or the Alabamas or, go 12-0 every now and again. But consistency is a hard thing to expect from 18 to 23-year-olds. It just is. It's the nature of college football. Is what makes it so entertaining. Mm-hmm. That being said, Kansas State has to be far more consistent in 2025 if they're going to be a real Big 12 contender. That is the step they have not been able to make the last 2 seasons. That is what has made the last 2 seasons feel more frustrating than anything else in Manhattan. And simply winning the games they're supposed to win will go a long way, I think, towards K-State finishing this season like a lot of their fans will expect them to finish it. Because they've got a chance to get to Arlington. They could be really good and not go to Arlington. And the league is what it is. But to have their best chance, it's consistent effort from week 1 to the very end, and winning the games that you are supposed to win. For KU, my big question is, what are we supposed to expect? Like 6-6 good enough for KU this year to get back to a bowl? Like, they did lose a lot. They lost an outstanding senior class. They lost a ton of skill position production. JD6 is back. They got some solid offensive linemen. They've increased, I think, the talent level, the athleticism on defense. I think that talent-wise last year, they were not a 5-win team. Just they were to blame for only winning 5 games. But talent-wise, that was closer to a 7-8 win roster. If this roster is a little less, is 6 wins, is that good enough? Like, is that good enough to get back to a bowl for KU, or should the bar be higher?
It's not should. I mean, bar is higher. It is higher. I think you have to go 6-6. Like, is that enough? Yeah, that's enough in the sense that there won't be questions about, like, hey, is the shine wearing off a little bit from this coaching staff? Like, yeah, you got to go 6-6 if you're KU. There's not really there's no discussion if you don't, because if you don't, suddenly I think you have to start evaluating, like, hey, you've done really well in the portal. You've done really well in recruiting. You're bringing more local guys on. You've made good staffing hires. Why is this not working? Those are the questions you have to have. So, no, I think winning 6 games is it's imperative at this point. There's no question about it. I think 7-5. Probably about what the goal target for this year. Because, I mean, look, you lost one of the 7 to 10 best players in the history of the program in Devin Neal. Maybe higher than that. I would say higher than that. You lost a very veteran wide receiver group. And while I have heard and have read and have been told myself, hey, this wide receiver group might be better. Like, in terms of skill, Henderson, the Alabama transfer, a number of different guys, like, this might actually be a more naturally talented group. They don't have the benefit of having played together for 4 years. Luke Grimm and Jalen Daniels came in at the same time. Quentin Skinner had been around for a long time. LJ Arnold for a long time. You don't have that anymore. These guys are all new except for Doug Emilion. That's an entirely new group for the and Keaton Kubica for the most part. So you've got to replace your starting running back. Although I do like the running back room, especially with the Highshaw back. I like that room. I like the wide receiver group. Deshaun Hanukkah back and healthy at tight end, I think, is a big deal. Bowden Gruen, the transfer from Rice, I think he'll factor in a little bit. Same with Leighton Cure. I like the pieces. You just got to see how they click. To me, the big question is about the defense. How different is it under Coach Shelby under DK McDonald? Shelby's the new defensive backs coach. Under DK McDonald than it was under Brian Borland. I think there will be some changes. I hope that they are positive changes. The linebacker room is as good as it's been since Leipold and staff have been at KU. That's a positive thing. So those are the big questions for me. Like, what defensively is going to look different? I trust the offense, and maybe it's blind trust. I'm a Jim Zabrowski guy all the way through. I think he is a genius. I truly think he is a brilliant football guy, and I think Matt Lubick is too. And they might not have the brand power that, some of the other football geniuses have. I think those guys, given what Leipold wants to do and the kind of talent they have on the roster, you could not ask for a better group of coordinators on the offensive side. So I'm good with the offense. I am good. I think the line will be good too. Bryce Foster coming back is so big. So big. He's going to go to the NFL after next year. It's about the defense. How different does it look in the post-Borland era? My question for K-State, and I don't mean for this to sound as critical as I think it will, what more can Avery Johnson tap into? If he does not improve at all beyond what he was in 2024, that's still a very good college football quarterback.
Yes.
Like, don't buy into the he's a bust because he didn't. No. That's still a very good quarterback, but it's also a quarterback who has some issues, I would say, with
ball security.
Ball security, certainly.
Decision making.
The decision making.
Made some young player mistakes last year.
I think even more than decision making in general, it's kind of like feel for the game. Or what game was it? It wasn't Arizona. It might have been Arizona, actually, where he ran out the clock at the end of the first half.
Yeah.
Hey, Avery, what the hell are you doing? Get out of bounds, throw it away, do something. It's moments like that. And there were a few scattered over the course of the year. If he's the same guy, though, that's a really good quarterback. That's a top 4 QB in the conference. The skill set that we know of and the athleticism, he can be the best quarterback in the conference without question.
I think
how much of that can he reach this year?
Health is a big part of that because I
Agreed.
don't think he was right physically for a good chunk of the middle of the season, and that really dampened his threat as a runner, which was disappointing. A lot of the questions our listeners have in the YouTube comments have to do with the quarterbacks. Mark B wonders if Matt Wells can level up Avery Johnson, and that is certainly an interesting question to see if the two of them working in year 2. It's year 2 in the offense now. Has
and more directly with Wells now too.
Increases Johnson's comfort level there. And Joe submits that for both teams, quarterback play is a question. I think for Jaden Daniels, we kind of know what he is. The big thing for Jaden Daniels is also cutting down the turnovers, cutting down those big mistakes. When he stopped turning the ball over in the second half of the season, KU played their best football. So It's all about avoiding the big negative play. And if he can, and as much football as he's played, he's a veteran now, should be more apt to do that this coming season. And if he's able to do that, then that does increase the ceiling for both teams. We'll take a quick break here on 580 Sports Talk. Come back with an on second thought to wrap this 4 o'clock hour. second thought, and we're going to get into more of her outstanding performance at the Women's College World Series last night in our headlines coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. But I do this every time I see Nyjah Kennedy do something spectacular that puts the sports world on notice, dominating from the circle as she did last night for Texas Tech in the College World Series. That when I was watching her dominate as a freshman basketball player at Topeka High, and Rick Peterson said, that's not her best sport. It's softball. It's not even really close, actually. And I thought, I don't know about that, Pistol. No, Pistol, as usual. He was right. And softball's her best sport, and she's better at it than anybody. You can have Pickens from Tennessee, who throws the fastest fastball.
Mm-hmm.
You can have any of them.
Jordy Ball.
You can have them all. Nyjah Kennedy's the best in the country.
On second thought, I should have mowed my entire lawn instead of half of it before I left last weekend because it's kept raining.
Yeah, man. It's going to rain again tomorrow.
I know.
I got leaves I got to mulch that I pulled for the pole too. It's bad. It looks like mid-November in my backyard.
Sucks.
Right now.
You got a quick one?
Yeah, I thought the Royals would give Hunter Renfroe a little bit more time before they DFA'd him. And on that note, he is officially a free agent as of 2 hours ago.
He's been released, so he's out there for anyone who will sign him. I don't think I'd be holding my breath for a phone call anytime real soon. Might be the end of the line for Hunter Renfroe. Coming on the 5 o'clock hour, we got headlines. We'll preview tonight's Royals game and more coming up next. Let's get it. Final hour of the day, final hour of the week here on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dorzinski, Spencer Dupuis. We've got you for one more hour, plus some overtime. We'll take you up until 6:30 tonight when we'll hand things off to the Royals Baseball Network. Huge series this weekend at the K. Should be great crowds. Big Slick is tonight. Mike Moustakas' retirement ceremony tomorrow afternoon. Then a beautiful Sunday, hopefully, at the K. Should be some great crowds. Should be a great atmosphere. Royals, Tigers, boys in blue trying to run down the Central leaders, the team with the best record in baseball, with a 3-game series starting tonight. 7:10, the first pitch. Seth Lugo, Casey Mize, your starting pitching matchup. Lugo returning from the IL. And again, we'll hand it off to pregame coverage at 6:30 tonight here on 580 WIBW FM 104.9. That's where you're hearing us, the sports voice of Kansas. Also online at 580WIBW.com and in living color on our video stream, our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on our Facebook page as well at WIBW News. Final hour of the show. So we're going to talk about that Royals-Tigers contest with Seth Lugo making his return to take on the red-hot Tigers. Also going to talk about sports documentaries. Had this thought last night. I got started on the Dale Earnhardt documentary on Amazon Prime. Spencer, I understand you have finished the documentary.
Yes.
So combined, you and I watched the whole thing last night because I watched the first 2 episodes. And
yes.
Totally separately, without consulting with me, because that's not how these things work.
Nope.
You watched the last 2 parts because you had previously started the documentary.
Yes.
So I started it, you finished it, separate and apart from each other last night. So maybe some thoughts on that, but also some thoughts on the sports documentary as a whole. There have been a lot of long-form sports documentaries on figures that absolutely did not need long-form sports documentaries. Dale Earnhardt, by the way, not in that category. This like hits the sweet spot.
Oh yeah,
a 4 hours on Dale, like that's the sweet spot. That's
it's
perfect.
Little more than 4 hours. The 3rd episode is like an hour and a half.
Oh well, thank you for the warning. I
didn't realize until I thought I was committing myself to 2 hours last night,
and it was 2.5.
and it was 2.5.
Well, shoot, duly noted. Maybe I only knock out 3 tonight after the Royals game, if I'm able. Anyhow.
But it's because the way that they structure.
Oh, sure.
The final one is 2001.
Okay, no spoilers, please.
No.
Don't. For those who don't know how Dale Earnhardt's career ends, no spoilers for the people. Please do not spoil the documentary.
What's the threshold for spoilers? I think 24 years is pretty close.
Probably,
I would say so.
I don't know. Like I go out of my way to try to avoid them, and even if it's like a show I'm never gonna watch. Like if it's a show that's popular and like buzzy, like I don't want to read the spoilers for like, the season finale of season 1 of this show. Even if I know in the back of my mind, man, you ain't never watching that show. You are never going to watch that show.
Yeah.
When you have the time, it's never going to happen.
No.
But you gotta avoid the spoilers. Like I don't know, you guys watch Hacks on HBO Max?
I've never heard of that.
Abby tried, and then she got 15 minutes in earlier today, and then had to go take care of some stuff. So
it's a good show. It's the season 4 finale aired last night, and so maybe Abby and I will watch that tonight.
I've watched some of it with my wife. She loves it. Like a lot of shows, I'm just not a big TV guy, generally speaking.
Yeah, like if I sit down, like
I need to want to watch something to commit to watching it.
Sure. And when my wife and I watch TV together, we want to find something that we both like. And then that's if there's not like a game on that I really want to watch. Like I probably want to watch a good chunk of this Royals Tigers series this weekend. So, we watch some baseball, but she does. She enjoys. And my wife's not a huge fan of comedies. Like she likes the network dramas, the Dick Wolf cinematic universe. She's a big fan of those shows. Did you catch Mariska Hargitay and what's her name, Kelly Giddish at the Knicks game last night?
I saw it on social media.
Yeah, I did see that Detective Benson was there. Yeah.
Yes, Detective Benson and Detective Rollins.
I haven't watched the new episode in a while. I'm not aware of
I only
Ms.
know
Rollins' game.
2 people, her and Stabler.
Okay, his Stabler has not been on that show for a very long time.
Yes, I know. He had his own spinoff there for a bit.
No, it's still on. Yeah. It's on Peacock now. It's a Peacock
they transitioned
exclusive.
it.
Yeah, we have not followed the show over to Peacock. My wife really liked that one, but we have not followed that one over to Peacock.
I know Munch. Is he still around?
Munch is dead.
Ooh.
Yeah. What was the actor's name? Oh man, Richard something.
Belzer.
Richard Belzer. Yeah, he died.
Yeah,
he died a couple of years back. In fact. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's very sad. I know Finn.
Yeah,
that's Ice-T.
Yeah,
Ice-T.
Yeah, sorry,
Ice-T.
not Ice Cube. Ice
Cube, of course, was in Are We There Yet?
Yeah, Ice-T. Yeah.
Ice-T wrote Cop Killer.
Anyhow, so typically that's like we'll take 44 minutes and watch like an episode of like Chicago PD or whatever. But Hacks is a comedy that I've actually gotten her to watch with me and that we enjoy. So we'll catch up on the finale. But like it aired last night, so there are like articles and interviews and think pieces, and I'm like, I'm not going to read them. I will studiously avoid the spoilers.
Yeah. See, I don't like spoilers.
That's my hard part about like following these shows on social media. Is like if you haven't had a chance to watch it yet, and it's been like a couple weeks, like they just throw out what happened on the show.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't get spoilers for more than spoiler rules on social media end about 10 minutes after the show ends.
And I'm okay with that. Honestly, like I'm fine with that. Like in at this point, you've got to know that that's going to be the case. So like, I don't know if there's a show you really like and or a game you have to be on your social media timeline, mute the keywords. Like mute Game of Thrones or whatever it is. And then you won't see all the spoilers. Mute Daenerys or whatever it is.
Yeah, I never watched Game
of Thrones either.
Dragon exposed breast show. No.
I'm glad y'all like the dragon incest show. I'm glad that was so popular for a lot of people. Yeah, never one of my deals. Anyway, but we will start this hour with some 580 Sports Talk headlines. And as we go along, we want to hear from you. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. That's 785-272-9429. You can also comment in the live chat on our YouTube stream. Again, the name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. Want to hear from you as we go along here. Final hour of the week. It's quitting time for a lot of people, not for us, but for a lot of people. So, jump on in and text the show and hang out with us here on this final hour of the week. Let's get to those 580 Sports Talk headlines, shall we? Let's begin with the Women's College World Series. As Nyjah Kennedy took a perfecto into the sixth last night. Didn't last, but it was a winner for Texas Tech in their first ever Women's College World Series game. Ended up being a two-hitter for Kennedy with 10 punch-outs. And the 12th seed Texas Tech Red Raiders edged the unseeded Ole Miss Rebels 1-0. Game was delayed by lightning and rain, but Kennedy's dominance was right on time. Retired the first 16 batters she faced, and the final out of the game was a strikeout as well. So Texas Tech advances in the Women's College World Series. They'll play UCLA, who walked off Oregon at like 12:15 Central Time last night. Pac-12 After Dark lives. Those two teams might be in the Big Ten now. Pac-12 After Dark lives. UCLA walking off Oregon in the last of the games in Oklahoma City yesterday. So it'll be Texas Tech, UCLA tomorrow. Winner goes to the semifinals. UCLA better pack a lunch because they got to deal with Nyjah Kennedy.
I wouldn't want to do that. I would not want to be an opposing batter. It's also extremely funny that she is the team leader in home runs.
Yeah, she has an OPS over 1,000.
Yeah.
That's hysterical. Like 2 years at Stanford, she's dominant as a pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
National Player of the Year as a sophomore, just pitching, essentially. Yeah. And she enters the transfer portal. And one of the appeals about Texas Tech, beyond the 7-figure NIL deal, was, hey, coach, can I hit? I'm pretty good at hitting, too. Can I hit? And
sure.
Gary Glasgow, the head coach at Tech, said, you can do anything you want forever. And
as long as you come here.
Leads the team in OPS.
Yeah.
And home runs. It's ridiculous.
Vance on YouTube asked the question, what makes her so good? Well, the ability to be that good of a pitcher and hitter is one of them. And no one really knew that until she got to Tech. I mean, if you lived here, you did, but no one following college softball really knew that at the time. When she was at Stanford, she's got the power. She's got control. It's hard to control your pitches in softball.
It is.
Like that. And she's got a varied arsenal. She is relentless. There's just like in baseball, and it's different. You can attack the zone, or you can be a nibbler, or be control based or power based, whatever. She does all of it. And it's remarkable. And yeah, she doesn't beat what's-her-face at Tennessee, who throws the fastest pitch in softball today, but every single pitch is just nasty. And 10 strikeouts in 7 innings, pretty good. Pretty dang good.
And that's like the tangible, like softball related stuff, what makes her so good. The intangible stuff, she is a killer. Like, just an unbelievable competitor, a ferocious competitor.
You mentioned it yesterday, a very mild-mannered woman. Like, we've both gotten the chance to interview her, to hear her coaches in high school talk about her. As Shane Miles on the softball side at Topeka High, Hannah Alexander when she was playing, when she was coaching at Topeka High, when Naja was playing basketball for 3 years. Like, nothing but great things to say about her character. She's very smart, great teammate, great leader, very kind. She will mess you up on the field. And there's never been any doubt about that, whether it was softball or basketball when she was in high school, certainly.
Well, you had to watch her compete for like 5 minutes and she's a dog. Like she's coming for your neck.
Barbara on YouTube also says, let's hope she's on Team USA in 2028 for the Olympic Games in Los Angeles.
I think she'll find her way onto the roster.
Yeah. She'll be there.
Yeah,
she'll be there.
It's also pretty cool every single time you got there and dominate that you get back to your phone and Patrick Mahomes is tweeting about you.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
There was great video. Mahomes was shooting a commercial during the Super Regionals. And like he's standing off to the side waiting for them to like shoot. He's all dressed up. I don't know what the commercial was for, but he's watching the game on his phone.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, he's that's pretty cool stuff. He definitely rides hard for his alma mater. He's not halfway about it. But anyway, that's what occurred in the Women's College World Series last night. Naja Kennedy and Texas Tech play Saturday against UCLA. Win, and it's into the semifinals. Next headline, Brendan.
First headline for me on the day today. Let's just run through a couple of different college sports headlines today. The first one, a couple from frontofficesports.com in particular. First one, this is a big one for the Big 12 in particular. The Big 12 puts private equity and naming rights on pause, according to David Rumsey of FOS. The Big 12 wrapping up its spring meetings on Friday after a busy week of coaches, athletic directors, and presidents discussing changes around the CFP, March Madness, more on that in a moment, etc. Brett Yormark caught up with Front Office Sports Thursday night to analyze the new landscape of college sports. And he said, when asked, where does the Big 12 stand on selling a stake of the conference to private equity? He responded, quote, we've explored all that. We did it probably for the better part of the year. We're not ready to go in that direction, but we know what options are out there. We've been educated at the highest levels. He adds the board is not ready to take that step right now. There's probably lots of reasons for that. There are so many different things going on right now, but I think we're well informed. We know what's going on in that world. We hired a bank to consult and give us direction, show us the optionality is out there. We're just not ready to jump in that yet. And there's more here again if it's over at frontofficesports.com. And it's more of the same when it comes to, are you searching for a naming sponsor for the Big 12? And he said it might not be off the table, but we're not really looking into it at this point. This is good. Private equity is bad. It has messed with a lot of things. Go look at your favorite newspaper over the last, decade more at this point. And it from a less cynical, worldly standpoint, this is fewer people coming in from the outside telling schools and the conference, this is what you need to do. Not what you should do, what you need to do, because now our money is in the game. That is a good thing because there's already probably too many cooks in the kitchen. I, at least personally, think this is a good thing. I did see, I think it was from Matt Brown of Extra Points earlier, there was another unnamed conference, don't know if it was high major, Power 4, whatever, that was supposedly even closer to selling a stake in the conference to a private equity group. However, that also did not come to fruition. Another interesting note, too, from Sportico today, the NFL, as we have talked about on the show, they have opened up the ability for teams to sell to private equity as much as 10% of a team, right, in the last year. One team has done that. Many, many more than one team has opened up partial sales. The Browns, the Raiders, the Chargers are the team who did it, the 49ers. You know what all those teams are selling to? Individuals. Like Tom Brady, one guy The 49ers, Spencer, you had that headline a couple of weeks ago. They sold it to 6 different individual families, all of whom live in the San Francisco Bay Area. Like, they opened it up, and teams are saying, well, actually, we don't really want to do that. Like, we like having the options, but we don't. We wanted to be invited to the party. We don't actually want to go to the party. That's kind of how the NFL is reacting to this. Also from college sports, 2 other headlines for you today. Why don't we stick with the Big 12, in fact? This is public data at this point, but the initial report I saw, I think it was from Brandon Marcello, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go find this real quick. No, it is not from Brandon Marcello. It is from Matt Marshall, who covers the conference. Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark announced today that the conference will distribute a record $558 million to its member institutions. Matt Marshall, by the way, covers UCF in particular. I want to make sure I got that right. So it's a record total amount being distributed to the Big 12 teams. It is not an individual per school record because that was set a couple of years ago when Oklahoma and Texas were still in the conference. Every school got $44 million. The way it is shaking out, the rough math is 4 schools are only getting a half a share this year. BYU and the former AAC schools, UCF, Cincinnati, Houston. They're all getting half payouts. Everybody else is getting a full payout. So 12 of the 16 teams, KU, State included, are getting $39.9 million this year. The other 4 schools are getting $19.9. Wow, that doesn't seem fair. They're getting chump change. It's still more than double what they would have gotten in the American Athletic Conference. They're doing quite fine. They'll get their full shares next year when the new TV contracts kick in. So something to note, that's where the money comes for KU, K-State, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, et cetera this year. $39.9 million. That's from bowl tie-ins, the TV money, third-party rights, et cetera. Final part of my college sports headline whip around for you guys today. Is anyone here in favor of expanding the NCAA tournament?
Nope.
Oh, no.
Nope. I hate it. I think it is evil. I think Greg Sankey is a very bad man. I think Bill Self was very, very, very wrong when he was talking about it earlier this week at the Big 12 meetings. Well, how about this? A media executive unnamed in an interview, again, with Front Office Sports, said the potential gains in terms of TV revenue from expanding the tournament, quote, chump change. I believe CBS and TNT will offer them 0 or a de minimis amount if they wanted to add more schools to the NCAA tournament. According to this report from Michael McCarthy and David Rumsey, they talked to several media rights executives about what kind of additional fees the NCAA can reap by expanding to 72 or 76 teams in the NCAA tournament. Every negotiation is different, but the answer we got was surprising. Not much. That one executive said it would just be chump change for the NCAA. Good. I hope that Turner would make them pay to add more teams. Oh, we got travel to deal with. We got to send Brian Anderson to another place. We got to send Kevin Harlan to another place. Brad Nessler's got to go somewhere else. We got to pay for another week of game. Sorry. I mean, we're not going to give you as much. I understand that it is a logical fallacy. I remember learning about the Comms 130, Bailey Hall, University of Kansas. I remember learning about all the logical fallacies. And the appeal to tradition, it's what we've always done, that means it's right, is not like logically sound. That being said, there's nothing wrong with the tournament. It is the best organized and set up event in American sports. Stick with it. There's nothing wrong with the way it is set up. No one wants to watch 19-13 Oklahoma in the tournament. No one wants to see that. I don't think Oklahoma fans have wanted to see their team in the tournament the last couple of years. And they're the example because every year they're on the bubble.
Yeah. Most of the teams that end up in the NIT, like their fans understand, like that's kind of where we belong. We don't deserve to be in the dance.
Again, last year, I said this the other day. K-State fans, y'all didn't want to see your team play more last year. You could, I don't think I was speaking on a turn here, could not wait to move on. No, less of those teams is better.
Yes.
Already there are too many of those teams in the tournament.
There absolutely are. 68 is too big. The fact that you have the playing games has already limited participation in like office bracket pools because They're the pigtail games. Do we have to pick these or not? Like, who's going to be
the big question? Do you have
seed?
to? Well, ESPN says you don't.
Yeah,
that's true. You just kind of pick the 11th seed, and it can be whoever you want it to be. Whoever, if you're riding with that. Let's get one more headline from you, Spencer.
All right. Also from Front Office Sports, Brendan mentioned two things from there. NFL Red Zone host Scott Hansen is signing a long-term contract to return to the what is it? What is the quote? I can't remember what do they call it?
7 hours of commercial free
7 hours
football.
Of commercial-free football, which actually might not be.
Yeah, they're doing
7 hours
now.
anymore of commercial-free football. But yes, it was kind of up in the air because he didn't have a new contract from NFL Media, and NFL Media is up in the air because they allegedly want to sell to ESPN and become one entity. But fear not, Scott Hansen will be back for your Sunday afternoon fix when you want to sit on the couch and watch every touchdown from every game with NFL Red Zone.
I like Red Zone. I like Red Zone as a side screen.
My unpopular take is I do not like NFL Red Zone. I do not. I don't think that's how you're meant to consume.
That's why I like having it on the small. That's on screen 3. It's ordered by size. Screen 1 is the biggest in the middle. Screen 2 over here. Screen 3 off on the side. I like it for screen 3 because if Fox and CBS go to a break or there's a lull in the action, whatever, I look over. Oh, sweet, Bryce Young, big play, awesome. Okay, back to a game I care about. It's filler for me. I've tried like Packers bye week, Chiefs bye week. I'm gonna put that on the big screen. I can't do it. I want to follow the game.
No,
I like football. I don't just like touchdown.
No,
I like football.
I don't need that's like football for people who need Adderall. I don't like.
I mean.
Yeah. I don't I
won't debate that.
I don't need the if there are highlights, I'm going to see them eventually. Like if I'm watching the CBS or the Fox game, they'll show me the touchdown. I don't need to see them as they happen.
There is something about let's go to a game break. Krista Thompson, what you got? There is something that still, gets me fired up about that.
I will say though, clearly
Thompson.
Clearly the ratings, the people purchasing this, it is enough for them to continue it.
Yeah, that's the other thing too.
People love it.
Yeah, people love it enough that it's still sticking around.
Not a product I pay for. It's just not for me. I'm not knocking it if it's for you. It's just not the way I prefer to consume football. I'm gonna watch. I get that. I'm gonna watch a game.
No, I hear you on that.
And more and more too. It's I watch the Chiefs game, and then if my team's happens to be on TV, I might check that out. But I sometimes like a little break from football because it is so in my face all the time, and it's on 4 different nights out of the week now. And sometimes I need a little break from football, and a lot of times because you have the Thursday night game and you have the Sunday night game, you have the Monday night game, and they're all marquee games now because that's what those TV partners are paying for.
Mm-hmm.
The Sunday slates aren't as good. The Sunday games that you get are not really cracking because the best games of the week are all on ESPN or NBC or Prime. Well, now that's not always the case. Eagles Chiefs week 2, that's cracking. Eagles Bills week 9. It's not always or Chiefs Bills. That's not always the case.
Eagles Bills would be sick.
Eagles, yeah. If they play, I watch that too. But a lot of times you get it's the Broncos and the Browns. It's nah, I'm not watching this.
Well, then too,
go outside.
You get
for gambling though.
You get to the point where there's also now there's Thursday games. There's, Monday night games, Sunday night games.
This is exactly what I just said.
But the broadcast windows, there's not enough games for it to actually go 7 hours a lot.
Quantity and quality suffer in those windows.
They literally, Scott Hansen literally goes at 6:30 some nights or 5:30 here. We've got to get out of this because we don't have the rights for this. Have a great day. Have a great day. Here's your compilation.
We're going to wrap up our headlines. Couple things I want to get to. I have to get to this. The sports quote of the year so far. A 13-year-old Texan boy named Faizan Zaki won the Scripps National Spelling Bee today. Congratulations to Faizan. 13 years old. He's from Allen, Texas, and he just about blew the spelling bee because he had so much confidence that he was going to spell camelina correctly that he did not ask for a pronunciation or to use it in a sentence or etymology or all those things that spellers typically ask for. He just launched right into spelling it and immediately got it wrong. Immediately. First letter was wrong. K instead of a C. So then he told the head judge, just ring the bell. And so that was the clinching word. If he'd spelled that right, he would have won. Instead, it brought the other two spellers back into it because they had missed in the round previous. But Zaki was able to outlast them all. Correctly spelled éclaircissement. That was the winning word. Any ideas? Want to give it a crack? Éclaircissement?
Nope.
E.
Good start.
C.
ECLAIRE.
Nope.
Yeah.
Ding. Éclaircissement. That was the winning word. Anyhow.
That sounds French.
Faison lost in the spell-off tiebreaker last year and then almost blew it in the tiebreaker this year. And his friend and fellow speller, Bruhat Zoma, said about Faison's near fumble, quote, "I think he cared too much about his aura," which is a hilarious thing to say about a speller.
That's a great quote.
I think he cared too much about his aura. That's quote of the year as far as I'm concerned. Also, real quick, want to tip the cap to a few area baseball and softball teams who are going to be playing for state titles tonight. Washburn Rural knocked off Mill Valley. They're going to play for the 6A softball title against Olathe West. Silver Lake softball also into the final. They take on Frontenac later on this evening. Over on the baseball side, Valley Falls, a big winner in their semifinal in 2-1A. They play Pitt Colgan tonight for the title in that classification. Rock Creek baseball is in the championship in 4A. They will play against Fort Scott. Let's get to a playoff roundup, shall we?
That's a great idea.
I think we should.
It's time for the 580 Sports Talk Playoff Roundup.
I did spring that one on Spencer. In fairness, that was hard. That was
I
that was a tough one.
I thought once we transitioned from my story, I was ready.
I understand.
And then I got unready.
This is going to be a quick playoff roundup. In the NHL, it is a Stanley Cup final rematch. The Edmonton Oilers defeat the Dallas Stars 6-3 in Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals to win that series 4-1. And we get the Oilers and the Panthers for the second consecutive year. If you remember last year, Panthers went up 3-0. Oilers won the next 3 games, forcing a Game 7 before the Panthers won the game and their first ever Stanley Cup. The Stars yanked their starting goalie, Jake Ottinger, after 2 shots in Game 5 last night because both of them were goals. It was a nonsensical decision, and frankly, I think Dallas should fire their coach, Pete DeBoer. Please fire Pete DeBoer, please.
Yeah, I mean, until they win the Stanley Cup, it is Pete DeBoer's fault that they have not.
Yes, and they should fire him post-haste, and then he should take a job in the Eastern Conference.
Jake Ottinger's really good too.
It's a whole rock paper scissor thing you have going in the Western Conference right now. Like the Stars own the Colorado Avalanche.
Uh-huh.
The Oilers could not beat the Avalanche, but the Oilers beat the Stars. So it's the whole rock paper scissor thing going on in the West. No hockey till Wednesday. That's when Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final will be played.
Yeah, well, if there's a Game 7 for NBA, it'd be Tuesday on TNT, and TNT is now the home. It'd be Monday, so I guess it could only have been Tuesday when they could have played it.
What?
If there's a Game 7 in the NBA, it'll be on TNT on Monday. So they could have only played Tuesday or Wednesday, so they picked Wednesday.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, I got you now. Yeah, Wednesday.
So you would think Monday, but
Wednesday.
Yeah.
And Wednesday, Game 1, Stanley Cup Finals. In the NBA, the Knicks did survive to play another day. They handled the Pacers 111-94 in Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals, much to the delight of Mariska Hargitay and Kelly Giddish. Game 6 is Saturday in Indianapolis as the Pacers will try to win the series at home.
Give me the Pacers and a cover in that game.
I think the Pacers win pretty handily, too. That was a building win, a pride win for the Knicks, but they're just not as good as the Pacers. I think the Pacers clinch it on Saturday. That's your playoff roundup. Those are your 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll take a break and come back with more 580 Sports Talk. 537 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan, Brendan, Spencer with you, rounding out the final hour of this Friday edition of the program. I watched first 2 episodes last night of the 4-part Amazon Prime documentary, Earnhardt. It is weirdly about Dick Trickle, like a strange title. No, it's about Dale Earnhardt.
Senior.
Yes.
Yes.
The Intimidator.
Junior plays a role, as you would expect. But yes, it is about the life and times, the career, and the tragic end to Dale Earnhardt's life.
I will say, you've watched the first 2 episodes.
I've watched first 2 episodes, thought they were very good. I am not like diehard NASCAR guy, but when I was a kid, like 10, 11, 12 years old, so this would have been like late 90s, I had a bit of a NASCAR phase, I guess you could call it. So like there's a nostalgic itch being scratched for me too, seeing that Good Wrench number 3 and the rubbing racing against like Jeff Bodine and what have you.
And like very young Jeff Gordon.
Extremely young Jeff Gordon. Horrifyingly young Jeff Gordon.
I will say, as somebody that was obviously born after kind of like his heyday, or like, where I don't remember his heyday, like that would give me a lot more like history of him than any other thing that I've ever seen about him.
Yeah, so far really good. I'm looking forward to watching the next 2 parts when I get the opportunity. The thing about Dale Earnhardt is that he never looked a day under 45 years old, like never once. I don't know what it is. Like I turned 39 later this year. I don't think I look that old. Like I don't say that to like flatter myself. I just do not. There's a picture in my head of what I thought like you would look like as you approach 40 or get to 40. And I think most people of our generation do not look as old as they actually are. I don't think I look. I mean, now there's some white hairs starting to form in my beard that might belie my actual age, but I don't feel like I look like that old. Dale Earnhardt, as a NASCAR Winston Cup rookie, looked like he was 46 years old.
But he smoked a lot of cigarettes.
It could have had something to do with it.
I had to guess.
I think that did age people. Nicotine tended to age people a little worse.
I mean, you see jokes online all the time. They're like, this is what a 28-year-old man looked like in 1963, and they looked like your grandpa today.
Yeah.
And it really does feel like that's a phenomenon.
Also, he had like 3 wives.
Yes.
So I think divorce ages you.
Maybe it does. I hope to never find out, but yeah, it could be a factor. Goodness gracious.
Also, NASCAR drivers back then, like they weren't like they are now. I was talking to my girlfriend about this last night when we were watching it. Like, you don't wake up now and go to your meetings and you go in your simulator every day. Like, you were either track testing or doing your other business. Like Dale was working on a farm or like owning the businesses that he ran.
Yes, it was still a extremely southern sport. Now you've got, like dudes from Southern California and other parts of the country that were not like racing territory that are in it. Yeah, it's a different sport. Dale was kind of a bridge there, and the documentary gets into that a little bit. But anyhow, it got me thinking about other multi-part sports documentaries that have been produced that I have watched, and some of them have been better than others. Like The Last Dance, the 10-part documentary about Jordan's last season with the Bulls. That was pretty good. And it wasn't perfect, but it was good. It was entertaining. I mean, goodness knows when it came out, certainly had to do with something with that, because it came out right after COVID hit. We were all indoors. We were all looking forward to watching The Last Dance, and everybody watched it at the same time.
They moved it up, remember?
Yeah, they did. They rushed it to finish.
It was supposed to be in the summer, right?
Yeah, they rushed it to finish. So there's that one, and that worked. The Tom Brady documentary, that didn't work because Tom Brady is boring. And I did not have an appetite for 10 episodes of Tom Brady, like, myth making. That's what a documentary is, especially when the subject has a say in the documentary. That's why at the end of the day, sometimes the best documentaries are about people who do not get a chance to show up on camera and tell their own story.
I only knew one person who watched the entire thing. It's one of my best friends who's a big football fan, but he's not like as in the weeds as I am by any means. A big fantasy football guy too. Sure. So he watched. He's like, yeah, I didn't know some of this stuff about Brady. But a couple of times he's like, did you know this? Yeah, actually I did. So I think I'm good. I think I covered that.
There was a 6-part Derrick Jeter documentary that was so unnecessary. Like, again, another boring guy.
I don't find him interesting.
Like, what's the hook? Oh, his team's won a lot of games. Neat. Like it doesn't hook me, and that's not interesting enough for me to watch 6 hours of, hey, do you remember when this guy won this game? How about when he won this game? Like, no, there has to be like a story, like a threads to pull at narratively that make them an interesting figure in their sport.
Wow, Derek Jeter had sex with a lot of supermodels? Wow, that's crazy. Millionaire athletes never do that.
Yeah.
Especially ones that live in New York.
And he's not going to tell those good stories because he's part of making the documentary.
And
so
also married with kids now.
Yes, you're not going to sit him down and be like, so tell us about the gift baskets and get a bunch of good stories. That's just not going to happen. You're not going to get to the good stuff. It's why I have concerns about the upcoming Chiefs documentary, because we know how heavily involved the Chiefs and the NFL are in that 6-part series that's going to air on ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
Like, I think it will be entertaining. I think Chiefs fans are going to love it. But do I think it's going to be particularly revealing? Like, are you going to get anything out of it other than the Chiefs were great, and then they were bad for a long time, but now they're great again, and Patrick Mahomes is great? Like, are you going to get anything from it?
That's like the
beyond
Johnny
that?
Manziel Untold. I don't think we got a lot out of it.
I actually think unintentionally we did get a lot out of it.
Well,
because,
yes, but
like,
then Swamp Kings as well. I don't think we got a lot out of Swamp
that was
Kings.
garbage. The multi-part documentary about the
Urban Meyer
Florida
puff
team.
piece.
Yeah, that was Urban Meyer rehab piece. That was terrible. But yes, the best documentaries are where the main subject doesn't participate. Like, I watched the one about Brett Favre that just came out on Netflix the other day.
Yeah.
1 hour ish. That was pretty good and pretty revealing in a lot of ways. Even Peter King is like, yeah, man, maybe I went a little too far gotting this guy up over the course of his NFL career. If I'd have known, he was not a good guy.
Not to be morbid, but I'm kind of glad that John Madden did not live to see the true fall of Brett Favre. I don't think he could have handled it.
He would not have been able to handle that. Anyway, so I got to thinking, give me one figure or team from sports history that you think there's enough narrative thread to pull at to do an interesting multi-part documentary that does not already exist. My answer for this is Hank Aaron. And he is no longer with us to participate in a documentary, but I think there is absolutely 3 to 4 hours on Hank Aaron that I would watch.
Yeah, Hank Aaron's a good one in a similar, albeit at the same time, very different thread. I think you could get 4 hours out of Barry Bonds.
Yeah.
I think Bonds, I mean, a lot of that's been covered to death, but I do think there are, like, I would love to know how people around him viewed his motives for what he did, or the way, like, the other thing about Barry Bonds, it's not just that he, was on the cream and the clear or whatever, and like, whatever. He was also a horrible jerk to everyone.
Miserable person.
So that would be an interesting one to get, like, the unfiltered view of what other people thought of him. So I think Bonds would be okay. The problem with this is, like, there's 2 10-part documentaries that I think are were truly great, either for entertainment purposes or like revealing purposes, that were sports or sports adjacent. The Last Dance was extremely entertaining, even if it was obviously at least somewhat manicured. And OJ Made in America, which I probably will never see a better documentary.
No,
but I'm also not like watching David Attenborough stuff.
That won an Oscar. That's the gold standard for a lot of reasons.
So, like, I don't think anything should ever get more than like maybe 5 episodes.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah, like the Earnhart being 4 episodes,
Good length.
4.5 hours. Yes, that's perfect. I don't need 10 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no.
Anybody you'd watch a full length, like a multi-part documentary about that doesn't have one already?
Just because I want to, like, if it was, you could tell all and dude wouldn't sue you with his threats of suing, Dan Snyder. Because
the
like
Snyder era?
Yeah, because it seemed like in the early 2000s, things were going great. Like ticket sales, like the stadium was sold out in like 2005 when Joe Gibbs was back as head coach. And then whoever they decided to hire, like when they hired Jim Zorn, like who is hiring Jim Zorn?
Yeah, that was wild.
And then Mike Shanahan, and then the back and forth between them.
And how he eventually lost his team, how he hurt that goodwill and got kicked out of a club that is almost impossible to get kicked out of.
Yeah.
Like there is, I think, an interesting story there. And the other part too, because we have a couple suggestions here. Vance throws out the Black Sox scandal. Like that's a fascinating story. You don't have enough primary sources.
They're all dead.
Yeah, nobody alive remembers that one to really get into. Like, I would love to hear Buck Weaver's side of the story. I would have loved to have heard that. Unfortunately, he has been in the ground for many, many years. Texas 785 throws out Deion Sanders. I am told that is coming. I have heard that is coming. If it is not, in fact, coming, there is plenty of archival documentary footage.
Did you see?
We did
about
get
his
Dion.
coaching
We
career.
did get the 30 for 30 about him
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, we got the 30 for 30.
Did you see he is not in the game?
The college football? Yeah,
Yeah.
they wouldn't pay him enough.
Nor
I'm
is
sure.
Bill.
Mark H throws out Marshawn Lynch. I would 1,000% watch 10 hours of Marshawn Lynch. But that's me.
Right.
I think, though, it'd have to be a cultivated one by him, because if not, he would not speak about a lot.
I do think there is a multi-part one to be done about those Seahawks teams. Because
I'd watch 3 episodes on how that fell apart.
The before Super Bowl 49 and the after is 2 parts easily. Anyhow, let's take a break. We'll come back. Quick preview of tonight's Royals-Tigers game after this. Seth Lugo is back for the Royals tonight. Of course, there was bad news that goes along with that, with Lucas Erceg being placed on the 15-day IL earlier today with a low back strain. No timetable for his return. Sometimes a 3-game series will have a very obvious swing game on paper. Each team goes into a series feeling really good about their pitching matchup for one of the days, and then there's the one that feels like the coin flip. Tonight's game's the coin flip in this Royals-Tigers series. Saturday, it's Skubal for the Tigers. Doesn't matter who any team throws. The Tigers think they're going to win with Skubal on the bump. They're usually right. Sunday, Chris Bubich against Keter Montero, who's basically starter number 6 or 7 for these Tigers. That feels like a game Kansas City should be very confident in, the way that Bubich has thrown the ball this year. So tonight's winner going to feel really good about getting out of the K with a series win this weekend. Royals hope to ride Seth Lugo, returning from the injured list. He turned in 4 straight quality starts before his injury, and we'll hope to start a new streak. Casey Mize, who's thrown it really well for the Tigers this season, gets the start for them. Funny note about Mize, in his last 5 starts against the Royals, 23 and 2/3 innings, only 12 strikeouts. Doesn't miss a lot of bats, but he didn't have to miss bats to throw 7 innings of 3-hit 1-run ball last time he saw him.
One thought about that game tomorrow with Skubal on the mound for the Tigers.
It's Waka for the Royals.
And that's what I wanted to get to. Like, Tarek Skubal could very easily go 9 innings. So he just did his last time out. He was incredible. But
13 strikeouts in a Maddox, dude. That's psychotic.
Yeah, what was it, 94 pitches?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
The last one was 103 for a strikeout.
Michael Wacha's been really good this year.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say I'm going to predict the Royals offense will do enough against Tarek Skubal, but you get him out of there in the, after 6, sometime in the 7th inning. Michael Wacha has a game like he's had for most of the season. You might not be out of it in the final couple of innings. Now, I don't really trust the offense ever, period, at this point. But Michael Wacha has been good enough this year. You can stay in that game without question. So I wouldn't write it off as a surefire loss. It's likely, again, you're going up against the best pitcher in baseball right now in Skubal. But I'm pretty excited for that one. And every time we say this, it ends up being like an 11-9 4-hour marathon. But that feels like a 2-hour, 25-minute game.
Royals did win the Skubal start when they were in Detroit.
Yep.
It was the only game they won in that 4-game series. So, you can't predict baseball, but this feels like the swing game in the series. And whichever team wins tonight is going to feel really good about taking the series. 6:30 pregame, 7:10 first pitch here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We'll take a break. The final word is next. Final word time on this Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk. It's your last final word of the week. Make it good. Brendan Brzezinski.
Big series for the Royals this weekend. Looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun with those pitching matchups we just talked about. I think Skubal versus Wacha should be a lot of fun coming up tomorrow. I think tonight's got a lot of intrigue with how good Mize has been for the Tigers. And then you get Chris Bubich, the best story in the American League, pitching-wise, coming up on Sunday. So it's a fun series of pitching matchups. I love those kind of games. I'm looking forward to it. You get 2 out of 3 if you're the Royals. You're feeling pretty good, even though you're still quite a bit behind in the AL Central. Also, real quick, shout out to our guy, Michael Swain, getting married this weekend. Congrats to him and his lovely bride.
Congrats to Michael. Spencer Dupuis, final word.
Yeah, I know Patrick Mahomes, this guy is Travis Kelce, but he said earlier, I guess it was yesterday during the media availability at OTAs, that Kelce doesn't look like a guy that's going to hang it up this year. Whether or not he is or isn't, like, your guy is going to get you. So I don't know really why you asked that question if you're a media member. But Travis Kelce, he looks like he's pumped to be back for another season. So let's go.
Final word for me. I got 2 real quick. First, the Royals rotation found Noah Cameron, and he plugged the hole very nicely when both Cole Reagans and Seth Lugo were on the injured list. Well, now the bullpen needs a version of Noah Cameron. Maybe it's not somebody straight up from the minors making their debut, but with Lucas Erstag on the shelf, the Royals need to find somebody who can handle the 8th inning and be that bridge to Carlos Estevez in close games, because the way the Royals fail to score runs most nights, close games is all they win. So they need somebody to help build that bridge. Somebody needs to step forward, whether it's Steven Cruz, Taylor Clark, or whoever in the 8th inning. Also, happy birthday to my grandmother, Marie Lucero's birthday today. So,
Hey.
happy birthday, Grandma.
Happy
She might be
birthday.
listening. So happy birthday, Grandma. That does it for us. We got a little overtime until 6:30. Then we're back on Monday from 3 until 6. For Brendan and Spencer, I'm Dan. This was 580 Sports Talk. Good night.